servant and also the president of the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Ms. Fatou Menga, former CEO of GAIPA, and of course, a key player in the development and entrepreneurship of women in the Gambia. Madam Fatou Menga, former CEO of GAIPA. Also, we invite the Deputy Permanent Secretary, ably representing the Minister overseeing the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment. Mr. Danso, DPS, kindly join us to sorry. And finally, the main lady, our partner, and that is Ambassador Zainab Muhammad, the CEO of WCCI, Emerging Market. You can also come and join. Also, the representative of the Gambia Revenue Authority, Mr. John, you can join the high table. You can come here. And you can come here. Also, the Executive Secretary of All Africa Association for Small and Medium Enterprises, ASAMI. If you are with us, kindly join us also to the high table. That is Mr. Jesper Eradiri. He's on his way. Okay, without much ado, we now await for us, sorry. We also have the pleasure to invite Mr. Sana, who has been a brother and a good colleague, who is also the chairman of the NEDI Board of Directors, also to join the high table.
A place of tranquility.
Representative of CJI. Yeah. Affairs, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Honorable Fatou Kinte. She's on her way and will join us as we start the program. And without much further ado, so by the time she joins us, she will deliver, of course, her opening statement. We begin the program proper, but first, like I said, GAIPA is in partnership with Emerging Market Hub of Nigeria, ably represented by Ambassador Zainab Muhammad. And this initiative was conceived some time back, and we have been working back and forth until today we realized the successful conduct of the event. And that's the purpose why we are gathered here, and the main reason, as you will have heard or will hear later from the respective deliverants, is to promote trade and investment and ensure that there's cross-borderless trade in West Africa and Africa by far the continent. In view of that, I have the singular honor, of course, from the technical team, to play the Gambian national anthem, and when we please rise to observe that we continue the program. Thank you. Technical team, please, the Gambian national anthem. Thank you very much. May we have once again, like the lyrics of the national anthem did conclude for the Gambia ever and true, we also remain committed to African integration, development, and prosperity. I have now the singular honor to start the program in earnest in terms of speeches delivery, and I would like to welcome the CEO of GAIPA, Mr. Usain Senghor, to kindly deliver his welcome remarks. Mr. Senghor.
Good morning. The Deputy Permanent Secretary, representing the Minister overseeing Ministry of Trade, the President of the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the President of the Gambia Women's Chamber of Commerce, the representative of the CGI, the Director of Internal Audit, representing the CG of the Gambia Revenue Authority, development partners and businesses present here, our partners, the media, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Fatu Jalo, the representative for Sea Trade, as well as representative of ITC present. It is with immense pride and deep gratitude that I welcome you all to the Banjul Trade Partnership Conference here in Banjul, the smiling coast of Africa. On behalf of the Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, I extend our warmest greetings to each of our partners, our champions, our fellow architects of Africa's economic future. This platform is not just a gathering, it's a declaration that Africa is ready to rise, not in fragments, but in unity and direction. The women entrepreneurs are not waiting for opportunity, they are creating it, and we at GAIPA have lived this for a decade now, igniting an engine for transformation. GAIPA is proud to co-host this landmark event alongside WCCI, Emerging Market Hub of Nigeria, and our partners from Tunisia, Mozambique, and across the continent. Together, we are building a platform that transcends geography and ideology, one that empowers women, fosters innovations, unlocks the full potentials of African enterprise and borderless trade. As the national agency tasked with promoting investment in exports, GAIPA sees this conference as a strategic milestone. It aligns perfectly with our mission to create a conducive environment for business to facilitate partnership and to champion sustainable development through private sector-led growth. We are especially honored to welcome the delegations from WICC, led by Ambassador Zainab, ECOWAS, AFCTA, OIC, and member states. Your presence here is a powerful endorsement of our shared vision, a balanced Africa where trade is inclusive. Investment is impactful, and women are at the forefront of economic leadership, creating Africa we want. Over the next 2 years, we will engage in policy dialogues, B2B matchmaking, and exhibitions that showcase the brilliance of women-led enterprises, from agri to tech, fashion to green industry. These are not just products, they are stories of resilience, creativity, ambitions, and determinations. Let us seize this moment to forge new partnerships, challenge old paradigms, and commit to actionable outcomes that will echo far beyond these walls. Let us build an entrepreneurship ecosystem that is inclusive, dynamic, and truly pan-African. It is also worthy to recognize the presence of the Senegal-Gambia Secretariat. As we always say, there cannot be no integration in ECOWAS if you cannot integrate Gambia and Senegal. Whatever it is, Gambia and Senegal will serve as the model for Africa's integration. Before I conclude, I must commend my formidable team that have worked tirelessly staging this event within short notice, protocol, and other limited resources. Once again, welcome to the Gambia, a smiling coast of Africa, and welcome to a conference that dares to dream, dares to deliver, and dares to be resilient. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gaipa CEO, Mr. Hussein Senghor. Due to the time that we have already lost, we will not belabor much on some of the points because there are a lot of presentations to be made and some panels also to be done. I now have the honor to move to the next speaker, which is Chief Ambassador Zainab Muhammad of Imagine Market House. Ambassador, you are welcome.
It's good morning in the Gambia, afternoon somewhere, and night somewhere. So good day, everyone. I believe we are streaming live, so I have to acknowledge everyone around the globe. My brother from another mother, Mr. Barbuka, I need to appreciate him. He hasn't slept in the last 72 hours plus, because we need to be here today and we need to do this. Thank you, my able CEO. You feel like I'm doing a thank you vote of thanks, right? It's not. It's because for this to happen, a lot of sleepless night went into, a lot of phone calls, a lot of text messages back and forth, and we are here this morning. My sister over there, Gas, thank you so much. Distinguished delegates, participants, and VIPs that are here seated. I'll stand on already established protocol for the time of warmth. The CEO has done the protocol and done it very well. It is with a heart full of gratitude and spirit full of hope that I welcome you all to this opening section of the International Trade and Cooperation Forum as we gathered under the inspiring theme, Trade Partnership Without Borders. Today is not just another conference. Today we gather to shape a new story for Africa, a story of shared prosperity, of unity in enterprise, and of women and men ready to build bridges without barriers once stood. Trade has always been the heartbeat of nations, long before our colonial maps were drawn. African traders across river, desert, and sea, from the ancient walls of Kano in Nigeria to the market in Timbuktu, from the coast of Lagos to the street of Banjul, what united our forefather was not language or borders, but trust exchange and partnership. That spirit, the African spirit of cooperation, is what we are reviving here today. So congratulations everyone in this room. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of African prosperity will not be determined by aids, but by access. Not by competition, but by collaboration. That is what Trade Partnership Without Borders stands for. The bold idea that African nations can trade, invest, and grow together, powered by inclusion, innovation, and mutual respect. But let us all be strategic. Today, the world is sitting on over $17 million in global fund ending, 0%, zero interest, capital that is idle, waiting for safe, meaningful destination. The question before us is simple. How can Africa attract these funds? We can do it by offering something the world is hungry for, guarantee impact. When we channel investment into innovation, community project, insurance, manufacturing, and green industry, and ensure that profits are not only financial, but social, we create a value chain that deliver both sustainable development and reliable returns. We can attract this capital by designing instruments of trust, transparency, governance, predictable policies, and local partnership, and make investors feel secured, while communities feel seen in this way. Every dollar invested in Africa can become a dollar build schools, create jobs, feed families, and power industries. This is the partnership the world is waiting for, not charity, but opportunity, not dependence, but shared growth. I must also commend the ECOWAS Department of Free Movement for their leadership in working tirelessly to ensure our borders for people, goods, and ideas are accessible. We need more. The commitment of GAIPA, the Ministry of Trade, the Gambia, and the Ministry of Gender remind us that it's not only about commerce, it's also about inclusion, especially for women and young entrepreneurs. Because when women trade, communities thrive. When youth innovate, industries are born. And when nations collaborate, prosperity becomes possible. Our task now is to turn partnership into policy. And thank God a lot of the policy makers are in here with us today. To move beyond ceremonial agreements into real investment that build factory, expands markets, and create decent jobs. To ensure that every border in Africa becomes a wall, but a gateway to opportunities. Let this forum be remembered as a turning point where Africa moves from potential to power. Let's build a future where Gambian goods reach Kaduna with ease, where Nigerian investors partner with Senegalese innovators, and where women traders and farmers find open doors, not obstacles, across the African continent. My dear friends, the world is watching Africa, not as a continent of crisis, but as the next frontier of growth. Let us seize this opportunity with courage, with unity, and with every conviction. Together we can create a borderless future where trade is driven by trust, guided by purpose, and sustained by people just like you and me. Together we can ensure that no woman is left behind, no youth is left idle, and no opportunity is left unexplored. Together we can make Africa not just a participant in global trade, but a pace setter of global prosperity. Thank you all for being part of this journey. May this gathering plant the seed of lasting partnership, inclusive growth, and shared hope across our beloved continent. God bless the Republic of Gambia. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and God bless African continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Zainab Muhammad, for very inspiring words. Now we have the honor to move to the next speaker, who was actually supposed to be the Minister for Women's Affairs for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but due to protocols being our reach and means, this could not have happened at this particular time. But we hope in due course, as we receive communication, we will convey and have it set out. Next, now we have the singular honor now to invite the Deputy Permanent Secretary, ably representing the Overseer of the Ministry of Trade for Industry, Regional Integration and Employment. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning to you all. First of all, before I read this statement on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Defense, who is overseeing the Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the former Permanent Secretary, Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, Madam Nafi Bari. She has been very instrumental during her time as the Minister of Trade. We all passed through her, and then we really appreciate your work, Madam Bari. Thank you so much. The statement of the Honorable Minister of Defense, who is currently overseeing the Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, Honorable Babukar Ismail Ajuf, reads as follows. The Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Madam Fatou Kinte, Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Honorable Imam Suleiman Ibrahim, Honorable members of Cabinet and senior government officials, regional governors and chairmen of area councils and representatives of local administrations, excellencies and members of the Council and Diplomatic Corps, development partners and businesses present here, the media, ladies and gentlemen, and all other protocols duly observed. It is a privilege to address this distinguished gathering at the Banjul Trade Partnership Conference 2025 on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Defense, overseeing the Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, Honorable Babukar Ismail Ajuf. This is an event that speaks directly to the heart of our national and continental aspirations to build a borderless Africa where trade is not constrained by geography, but empowered by vision, innovation, and inclusion. The Minister of Trade remains a power hub and strong advocate representing the Gambia's commitment to economic transformation, and also to affirm our belief that trade is more than an exchange of goods and services. Rather, it is an exchange of ideas, of values, and of possibilities through platforms like this. Therefore, this event is a strategic milestone which brings together policymakers, entrepreneurs, innovators, and institutions to forge new pathways for women-led enterprises and to dismantle the barriers that have long hindered their access to market, finance, and cross-border partnership. We at the Ministry of Trade are proud that GAIPA and its collaborators, that's the Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry from Nigeria, Emerging Market Hub of Nigeria, and partners across the continent are leading this voice for change. Together, we are advancing the goals of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, and the OIC vision for intra-OIC economic cooperation with a clear focus on gender equity and sustainable development goals. It is worthy to be clear that trade promotion is not just about numbers, but rather it is about people and interactions to collectively address challenges they faced. It is about the farmer in Farafenni, the fashion designer in Lagos, and the tech innovator in Tunisia, and the agriculture in Maputo. It is about creating ecosystems where businesses, especially those led by women, can thrive, scale, and compete globally in an environment where government must lead and show leadership. The Gambia is committed to this vision. We are investing in trade facilitation, improving our regulatory frameworks, and expanding access to finance and infrastructure. We are also working to ensure that our policies are not only pro-growth, but also pro-inclusion. Over the next 2 days, we will watch, support, and participate in the activities of this forum, including B2B matchmaking, policy dialogues, and exhibitions that showcase the individual African women entrepreneurs. These are not just sessions, but rather they are stepping stones towards a more integrated, resilient, and equitable African economy that is participatory. Let us leave this summit not only with new partnership, but with renewed purpose and commitment. Let us commit to actionable reforms, to bold investments, and to a future where trade knows no borders and opportunities knows no limits. May this summit be a catalyst for lasting changes for our continent as a whole. On that note, I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DPS Damfa, able representing the Honorable Minister overseeing the Ministry of Trade, Honorable Babakar Juf, who has been our minister, I could recall, since I first joined GAIPA in 2022 of October. We wish him well under his new undertaking at the Ministry of Defense. Now, the technical team, if you can please project the program, we have to do some housekeeping announcements on the program. Because of the time factor and we are a bit way far away from our schedule, we will have to collapse the presentations for now and divide them into the later afternoon and proceed with the panels because they are more important in terms of discussing Africa cross-border trade and the wherewithals that, of course, agitate proper entrepreneurship. In that, now, I kindly, with the permission of the CEO, relieve members of the high table, but the flowing announcements for the rest can stay, and they include Ms. Nafi Bari, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade, and retired civil servant, very experienced. Mr. Nyindu Fati, the President of the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, you can stay, sir. Mr. Sana Ba, the Chairman of NEDI Board of Directors. Ms. Fatou Menga, our former colleague at GAIPA, now the CEO, able representing the President of Federation of Gambian Industries. Mr. Ilo Jallo, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Gender, is busy with the Honorable Minister, and he will join us later. And that session will be chaired by former Permanent Secretary, Ms. Nafi Bari. The rest are kindly relieved to join the participants so that we can have the panel session begin in earnest. Thank you. Ma, you can come to the other side now. The panel will be coming there. CEO. Madam Menga and Sana, you can kindly join this other area. Honorable DPS Damfasa, may you please join the table, representing the Permanent Secretary. Now we have a full composition of our panelists. Just to say a little, because I couldn't say much considering the composition of the panelists, with their vast experience, of course, being led by Ms. Nafi Bari. But the essence of this, like I said before, is for people to hear the integral issues that are linking between sectors that constitute industries and how they are managed and what efforts can we put forward to ensure that both access to finance and women entrepreneurship are being advanced in our respective ECOWAS region and by far the African continent. In view of this, Madam Chair, moderator, I hand over the floor to you. The session is all yours, and the technical team kindly monitor their mics for ease of communication. Initially, it was supposed to be from 11:30. It was supposed to be 2 hours, and from time, 12 o'clock. So we hope by 1:30 we should close the session and break out for lunch so that we can get to the business. Thank you so much, ma'am. 1:30. Thank you. Of course, ma, you can. You can, or if you wish to stand, but considering your wisdom of old age. Sorry, ma. Oh, sorry, ma. I'm on the floor, I apologize. Oh, I got that. Of course. You are very right, ma. You are very right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this session. Like we said, this afternoon, I think the topic has been changed. Recently, it was revised, and I think we basically going to talk about financing, the access to finance for women entrepreneurs. This subject is very interesting. It's one of the key challenges that women face in Africa, but particularly in the Gambia. First of all, let me say thank you to GAIPA for selecting us, because I represent the Gambia Women's Chamber of Commerce, and what we do is that we are a business support organization that supports the interests of women in trade. Like I said earlier, access to finance is one of the basic, most pertinent problems that women face in this country. Why do we say so? There is limited access to affordable financing. I mean, financing is available in this country, but I would say that there's limited access to affordable finances, and that alone emerges as a constant constraint to women in business. What do they encounter? High rates, high interest rates, stringent collateral requirements, short repayment periods, credit guarantee schemes, development finance mechanisms, risk aversions towards MSMEs, MSME lending. We can cite informal businesses, especially the business structures and perceived high default risk. These are the problems that women encounter. I'm just setting the pace. Of course, the other panelists will talk about these things, but I want to highlight, as coming from a business support organization, that these are the challenges that the women face in accessing finance for their businesses. I think what we need to do, the experts can tell me whether that is right or wrong, but from our own perspectives, what we do is that we try to develop targeted financial solutions for enterprises, and that is single-handedly going to enterprises where financial enterprises that we think can help us, we discuss. But again, I think that would have been better on a bigger scale. So we try to strengthen the capacity of the financial sector to serve the private sector by promoting increased diversity of financial products and services. Again, the key word here would be at affordable cost. I think in the Gambia here, what we are encountering now is at 18% and above for interest rates. So when we talk of women businesses, we're talking about the MSME, the micro, small, and medium. That is where they are. Well, the formations of this business organization is to help them qualify from being micro, small enterprises. But again, with all these constraints, I think growth is not forthcoming. So if we have a panel that seeks to talk about access to finance today, we're all excited, and I'm sure all the ladies present here are equally excited, so that what we will do is that we will ask the panelists to respond, if you like, to some of these issues that I have raised, and then finally we will give the audience the ability or the privilege to ask questions and maybe give some recommendations. I think policy-wise, the Ministry of Trade has developed an MSME policy that highlights all these things. Again, there was the MSME mapping that came out with a lot of recommendations. But I think if the policy is to be implemented, it goes hand in hand with support from the private sector, that is the business support organizations, and also the corresponding financial institutions that would leverage the funds for the business. Sorry, I had to, this is very close to my heart, and I had to, I'm just a moderator, I should not have stepped into all this, but I wanted to lay the background so that the panelists would just come in and step in on them. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was my contribution. So I want to turn to, sorry sir, what's your name? Sana, representing NEDI. You are the chairperson of NEDI. I think NEDI is the National Enterprise Development Initiative of Government. And I think, let me ask this question. What are your thoughts about the access to finance for entrepreneurs in the Gambia?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Madam Chairperson, for asking this question. As we rightly know, that finance is a cross-cutting issue when it comes to entrepreneurs. As per NEDI, what our experience is, we've been training and supporting both youth and women entrepreneurs. But again, one thing that keeps on coming is about financing. And one of the things that at the board level we've been emphasizing is we've been providing a lot of training without direct support. And if you train people for so long and you didn't give them direct support, they tend to forget what you have even trained them because they are not engaged in those activities. So financing is a key aspect of entrepreneurship. So for that matter, I think it's crucial. Government has been doing their best, but they cannot do it alone. And also, I believe from a personal view that most of the problems that government faces probably is lack of proper coordination. Because there's a lot of intervention that government is doing, but it's not simultaneously organized. So some of these youth or women even doesn't know where to access this financing because everything is either nowadays is electronic, and some of them cannot even read and write because we are not only targeting people within the greater or who are literate. What about those who are semi-literate, who are in the provinces and want to have access to finance? So there are great barriers when it comes to things like that. And particularly in NEDI, we have our field workers, we have training. As we train also, we try to provide little support, that is government grant. But again, that is not sufficient because if you are giving somebody 50,000 or 100,000 in the present day and age, you know that that is not sufficient enough to support. It may be able to pay 1 or 2 bills, but that is not. So I believe financing, government should come up with innovations that would help synergize all these actors together, bring them and bring a central coordinating unit where people will just go and request for support Because training, everybody is conducting these trainings nowadays, but they provide little direct support. So on that note, I think financing is something very key, and it needs to be looked at from both angles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fati. Mr. Fati wears hats here. Mr. Fati is the president of the Gambia Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. Fati is also the managing director of Salam. And, do I name the other one, or I leave it as Salam? So I think he is very important here, because as president of the chamber, he's also supporting business organizations and trying for business organizations to see themselves in trade. However, on the other side also, he's a private man that owns a financing institution and is here to help and give out financing. Mr. Fati, we want you to give us your experience. I have talked about certain challenges, and I want to go back mainly to the collateral and the high interest rates that prevail in the market.
Thank you so much, my boss, my PS. I think this is a very important topic in the sense that for you to have a vibrant business, particularly for women entrepreneurs, access to finance is key. People need finances to start business. You cannot start a business unless you have the resources. And the number one resource you need is finances. You may have the idea, but if you don't have the financial resources, if you don't have the capital, you may not be able to start. Unlike advanced countries where they have capital market, for example, the stock exchange, people come up with ideas and they go to the capital market to access finance. In the Gambia, the concept of capital market people have started discussing the idea, and I think the law is actually there. But unfortunately, it has not yet been launched. And I think that is important for our country to explore the opportunity of starting a capital market so that people with ideas can go to the market to get financing. Then the other reason is that for you to be able to expand your business, again, you need capital. So businesses require capital as a lifeblood for them to start and also to expand. When it comes to women entrepreneurs, in the Gambia particularly, they face certain challenges. And number one, as my boss and PS said, lack of capital, lack of collateral. You go to the banks, the microfinance institutions. I remember someone once told me that you people don't give loans. You exchange assets. You ask for collateral, and in return, you give them loan. So it's simply an exchange of assets. That is the person's view. So capital collateral is a major problem that inhibits credit facilities in the country, particularly for women. They don't have the collaterals because most of the properties, unfortunately, belong to men. So one of the major problems that women in entrepreneurship face when it comes to access to finance is lack of collateral to guarantee those loans. Then the other problem is that, generally speaking, women and youths are not very active in employment. These are people, generally speaking, whose level of income is low compared to their male counterpart. And as a result, they don't have the necessary financial resources to launch their businesses. Then another challenge that they face is that, generally speaking, in the Gambia, businesses are very informal. When it comes to formalization of business, it is very important. But again, women entrepreneurs, not only women entrepreneurs, but women entrepreneurs and youth entrepreneurs don't generally formalize their businesses. They don't see it as necessary. And again, in the Gambia here, the cost of doing business is expensive. You look at it, business registration, I think, is done only in 2 places, Banjul and Kanifing. In some countries, you can register your business online very easily, in Rwanda, for example. And in the developed world, to formalize your business is very easy. That is where government needs to come to help entrepreneurs, especially women and youth, to formalize their businesses. Then the other challenge that women entrepreneurs are having is the short nature of the financing that is available. You go to most of the banks, they don't give more than 2 years financing. So if we are into sectors like agriculture, where the gestation period is very long, you may not be able to attract the necessary financing. And again, there are other social factors in our country, cultural and social factors, that inhibit women entrepreneurs to have access to finance. For example, if you have a husband like my brother, Hussein, he may want to require the wife to know what he needs the fund for, to even get permission from him. In the greater Banjul area, it is not common there. But if you go to the provinces, coming from a microfinance background, I can tell you that sometimes you give finance to the women, they take the money. Man with 3 wives, all these 3 wives will get the money and go and give it to the husband. It happens in this country, in the provinces. So these are the major challenges that we are having as far as access to finance is concerned for women entrepreneurs. So what are the possible solutions? I think we need to do more training. You've talked about it. You have been doing. You need to continuously do it. Training can never stop. Training is a continuous thing. So even whereas you look at our women folk, they are so hardworking, but what do they generally use their money for? I did not say it there.
No, that's a perception. I think
no.
we've gone beyond that.
It's right. It's right. Just a few days ago, I was reading one research paper. They use it for help for their children, for school fees of their children, but they also use it for Manyo Bito and for Kulio.
Yes.
Yeah. Naming ceremony. Yes. Wedding programs. Yeah. They use their. Yeah. So they use, while I agree entirely that they use a lot of their funds for the education of their children and health and the house, but they use a reasonable amount of their money also on social activities. Yeah. So the education and the discussion for women entrepreneurs to take business separate from their identity, their own identity, is very important. Not to take business money for their personal activities. That is very important. And the education has to be ongoing. Then I think in the Gambia here again, you are perfectly right. The cost of interest rate, the cost of credit in the country is extremely high. It can go up to 30% in some instances. It can go up to 25% in some instances. For women businesses who are generally seen as high risk, it is generally very high. Okay? And I think that is where the policymakers, Ministry of Trade, happy you are here, Central Bank, I'm not sure whether they are here, but that is where their role is important. I've been to Malaysia last year on a study tour, and it was amazing that for them they have created a guarantee fund for certain priority sectors where they charge interest rate as low as 3.5%. But 85% of the exposure, the risk, is already guaranteed by that guarantee fund. So banks are generally encouraged to lend because the risk is low on them. And as a result, they can give less costly lending to them. So Gambia, I think we also need to start that discussion. The government, particularly the central bank, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Agriculture, we need to identify the priority sectors and we see how we de-risk some of those sectors. I know the discussions are on at the level of the central bank, particularly targeting the agriculture sector. Then the other factor is you look at the cost of fund in the Gambia also is high. Madam Barry, when you go to the bank, you want to give them a deposit, you will negotiate for a high rate. Yeah. And the prime lending rate in the Gambia is around 16%. T-bill rate currently, one time was up to 14%, then it came down somewhere around 10%. So the lending rate for banks cannot be below the T-bill rate. But the gap is wide. The gap is wide, I agree. But
is that all the risk? I mean, risk cannot be more than 2-3%.
Yeah, it is not. You consider the cost of the fund. All the Gambian depositors would want high interest rate to be paid on their deposits across. I'm coming from the industry. I know how it is. People, before they give you 1 million, they will negotiate for the best rate of return on their deposits. Yes. So deposits are not cheap in the country here. If you compare the Gambia to the advanced worlds we tend to compare ourselves with, the cost of deposits for banks is high.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Because the risks are lower. You don't have any risk. We have to look at development also, development financing.
Yes.
I mean, deposits and...
so it is a factor. Deposits come at a cost. Lending, therefore, also goes at a cost. If you look at your cost of fund, that is the cost of deposits you are receiving, then you add your administrative cost, then you add your profit. That is why it is high. So if any of the parameters in this equation is high, then the cost of funding would high. So that is where, again, we need to have development partners, government, to help with cheaper sources of funding. I can tell you, for example, the Small Ruminant Project, which is an Islamic Development Bank funding with the Ministry of Agriculture. They charge only 10% because we are one of the implementing partners for that project. So we charge only 10% because it is cheap source of funding. So those are areas that we need to explore as a country, as policy makers. Then the other thing is the general maturity of our financial sector. The insurance specifically. We need to come up with more innovative insurance products. For example, that will target the agricultural sector. Banks don't finance agriculture because it is risky. And in the Gambia, there is no agricultural insurance scheme. Unlike other countries, even the neighboring countries like Senegal, there are agricultural insurance schemes. So these are some of the things that we need to introduce in our country. So for now, these are some of my thoughts and contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you. I just wanted to interject a little. I think generally in the Gambia, the funds, cost of funds are high, which we all appreciate. But here we're talking about funds to women. Funds to women. And I particularly, the Minister of Trade, they're here, they do the MSME policy, they do the whatever it takes, they have the entrepreneurship policy, everything. What I'm thinking is, I think there should be a definitive action that needs to be taken in terms of trying to rescue the women and give them access to finance. Why am I saying this? Government in itself has the Women Enterprise Fund, to which I'm the chairperson, and the interest rates are very low. If government can do that and give, well, the resources are not enough in that scheme, because they were supposed to be donors and other multilateral and bilateral who have not contributed. And I think government is funding it alone. For me, I would have thought it can be of interest to other lending agencies that they come up and support government in that venture, and that would be like an affirmative action. Of course, the risks would be high, but again, it can be controlled somehow. But they needed to contribute towards the Women Enterprise Fund, where the interest is very low. If I'm right, I think it's about 5%, and it is going on very well. Recovery is very high, but again, the packages that they give to women, I think somebody talked about that here, would not encourage growth. You give a group, it's a group lending, $50,000, $100,000, but that's what they can afford, because the funding, like I said, is not much. Where you have a whole portfolio from Banjul to Koina, and you just have $10 million, or, you know, of course, you have to rationalize how you give it out. I'm just putting it here. We're all concerned that funding for women entrepreneurship is a problem, and definitely that is needed. When we talk of women, women are 51% in this country. And out of that 51%, because there's no employment for women and youths, more than 75% of them are engaged in small businesses to make sure they earn a living. So definitely that proportion of a population needs to be supported anyhow. And that's what we're crying for. I think in many meetings we've been talking about this, and we continue to talk about it. But we need at some point some solid recommendations that would come, and people engage government, those that are in the private sector, so that this situation is enhanced. We have not talked about any, I mean, all we're saying here is general, but I wanted the focus to be on women. What do we do in particular for women? I mean, this is not, for example, employment is not affecting the men. They are employed. If you look at what the problem is, it's the women and the youth that don't have employment. They cannot sit and fold their hands. That would be disaster to the Gambian economy, because they are, I've not added in the youth, but the women only are 51% of the population. So if you add the youth, it will be a much bigger percentage. So if all of those are not employed, they don't do anything, and they don't have access to finance, it's disaster for our country. And I think this is why all the women are up, some selling fish, some selling this, some selling that, all to contribute to the national. So let's give it a thought. This is food for thought for everybody. What do we do in terms of enhancing access to finance for women? Okay. Okay. So finally, we come to Fatu. Fatu is representing the Association of Confederation now of manufacturers, Gambian manufacturers.
Gambian industries.
Okay. It used to be manufacturers. I'm of the old school of Gambian industries. This is quite interesting, Fatu, and I think your contribution should be very. What has been happening now is that concentration is given to people who do made in the Gambia. And when we talk of made in the Gambia, we're talking about value addition to our products. Of course, it may not be large-scale industries, but this is what leads to large-scale industries. When we produce from the resources that we have, this can encourage industrialization. So I want to give you the floor and ask you to give us your perspectives as to what we've been talking about in terms of women and industries, and women, how do they enhance the businesses given the constraints that we encounter on the access to markets.
Yes. Thank you, Auntie Nafi. So far, I think the deliberations have covered the majority of what brought us here today. But I wanted to buttress on the comments from Mr. President about, women's utilization of their finances and so on. Besides the welfare of their households, I cannot label it as personal affairs to which they contribute their monies within their communities. I want to term it as social engagements, because what they tend to do is have saving groups within their communities because of the stigmas within their little communities. It is best that you be a part of something so that you can receive the necessary support that you need. Now, Auntie Nafi, maybe for me, anyway, personally, as the only female executive member at the CGI, I think one thing we don't talk about enough is a free zone focused solely by women here in the Gambia. I think that would be a starting point in shaping our direction, because one thing we can all agree on is that women in the Gambia most certainly are not sitting and folding their hands. I think in the country, even though the numbers show that men are, largely more employed and so on, most certainly women are very active in making sure they are creating a livelihood for themselves as well as their households by doing whatever that needs to be done to make their lives sustainable monetarily. Now, here, of course, like I said, in the Gambia, we also know that women entrepreneurs form the very backbone of many value chains throughout agro-processing, textiles, and so on, packaging. I mean, these are all really led by women. And, at the CGI, we thoroughly believe that women are not only participants in trade, they are, if not the main drivers, even though in small scale, but as you say, Auntie Nafi, it is the small scale that eventually lead to sustainability in larger scales. So therefore, we believe that they are, huge drivers of industrial transformation across Africa. And that's why, for me, it's very, it would be interesting if we begin to think about a women-free zone here in the Gambia. And just to bring it to CEO of GAIFA's attention, Mr. Hussein Senghor, definitely I drew about turning GAITAF into a women-free zone. Now, we know that access to finance, as we are discussing, remains one of the most persistent barriers facing women entrepreneurs, not only in the Gambia, but across the continent. And as we have said, whilst women make up the majority of small business owners in the informal and agricultural sectors, they also remain underrepresented in formal financial portfolios. The current situation here in the Gambia estimates that less than 25% of women-owned enterprises have access to formal credit. And many rely on on informal saving groups. Like I said, we know the ususus and so on, which is greatly beneficial to them if we can be more creative in formalizing those structures, whether it be through financial institutions or so on, just so whilst they have these structures that they are comfortable with, there is also some type of regulatory body just overseeing its management. Of course, they are dependent on family loans. We spoke about, husbands being quite dominant towards women and their finances. But that's just, that's a matter of knowledge, education, things that could be done to perhaps help women be able to manage those circumstances is just some sort of mentorship that must go hand in hand with training in financial management, digital tools, and market access, and so on. And of course, as Auntie Nafi already pointed out, women work very hard to create their own personal loans to be able to establish their businesses, whether it be selling fish or making pancake and so on. And generally, of course, the reasons for their lack of access to formal financing is, well, the reasons are complex in general, but of course, as already discussed, collateral issues of lack of financial literacy, stringent bank requirements, even for any normal business with potential attempting to establish a relationship with banking institutions. Sometimes that can be very challenging. And of course, in the Gambia, we cannot talk without mentioning the gender biases we face in this country, in lending decisions, in decision-making tables, and so on. So, these are just systematic challenges that women face. Of course, we already mentioned the high risk, and that's because of the low growth, with the businesses such as retail trade or, agro-processing, which of course has a great potential, just not tapped into yet. And even funding, where funding schemes exist here in the Gambia, Auntie Nafi, you mentioned the Women
Enterprise Fund.
When Women Enterprise Fund, GAIPA also, they have an enterprise fund pending to be established or tapped into. And of course, information gaps as well. But for that reason, institutions like the Confederation of Gambian Industries exist to guide, members into having more access to information and application procedures and so on. Now, just to wrap up, we are here today because, of course, we acknowledge the role women play in our economy. And when women have access to finance, we know women very much so invest in productive enterprises, in the development of their livelihoods, and they do this through reinvestment in their communities, whether it be through the naming ceremonies or whatever it may be. It's a reinvestment into their communities to establish, a social linkage beyond just finance. As we have seen here in the Gambia, studies consistently show that women are more reliable borrowers and reinvestors, up to 90% of their own income into their family welfare and business growth. So empowering women financially is therefore not some sort of a charity or something of that kind. It's a smart economic move. What we can do, what we can change is have banks and microfinance institutions design gender responsive instruments, non-biased ones, creating or catering for smaller ticket sizes, flexible collateral requirements tailored to the Gambia, and blended finance products combining grants and credits. Sorry, the government and development partners can think about expanding credit guarantee schemes targeted at women-owned SMEs. And of course, like I said, if we are to establish something like My Dream Women Free Zone, these things would be, easily catered for as well as monitored. Of course, we, as mentioned already, capacity building and mentorship, as this goes hand in hand with training in financial management and market access, and as Auntie Nafi mentioned, policy alignments, industrial and trade policies should embed gender-sensitive financing frameworks and measure their uptake. Actually, we have an opportunity to do something like this now. We have an industrial policy being designed by Motai. It's still within the drafting stage, so we can look at it thoroughly to see what provisions we can introduce that would cater for gender-sensitive matters of this kind. And yes, generally, we are growing in mobile banking here in the Gambia as well, which is great. These can also act possibly as digital lending platforms to bridge, the last mile gap for women in rural and peri-urban areas. So, just generally to wrap up, if we want to talk about inclusive growth and industrial transformation, we must start by leveling the financial playing field for women. We know that here in the Gambia, the future of our economy in the areas of industry are very promising, sustainable and competitive, but it all depends on how well we unlock the full potential of women entrepreneurs in the Gambia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fatou. Very well said. I think I just have one comment because it keeps on reappearing. It was said by President Jundu, and I think you felt concerned about it, and that's the gender stereotyping that is being done. Too often they tell you, and this is one of the, maybe the risk factors that women are not given monies to. They tell you they spend it on naming ceremonies and weddings. The men are given money, actually. What do they do it for? Does anybody talk about that?
No.
That is never talked about. They go and marry wives. That is very unsustainable. That is very unsustainable because
I want to progress on that.
Sorry, can we listen? They go and marry many wives, which is very unsustainable. Once the money is finished, there's problem, and it eats into the business money. But it's never talked about. I think we should really move from that. We need to do some surveys to back our findings. They are very necessary. Let's take a sample. GAIPA is here, the Ministry of Trade is here. We should sample, see what women are doing, do a survey and see where their monies are getting into, how good or how well are they performing in the business. It can't be business as usual. If you look at the number of women that are engaged in business now and that were engaged in business 10 years ago, it differs. If you look at the women that have access to finance, however small it is, and what they have been doing with those monies, that needs to be explored so that people really know what has changed and how are women dealing with them. But otherwise, we would continue to talk about they don't respond, they buy clothes, they go to weddings, they go to naming ceremonies, and that is not, the fact of the matter. I think the perception needs to change. We're not in that era anymore. I think we know what we're supposed to do, and we're trying to contribute to national development. If you look at what women are doing, I think the men who have the funds should be encouraged to give the women access to these facilities. I just wanted to talk about that because I think it's a good point. You people are here dealing with policy. Your coordinators are here, the GAIPA and other institutions. I think we need to be serious and do some studies about it because this would encourage and change the status quo of what we are talking about. Yes, you needed to say something?
No, I was just going to say, even if monies are used by men for the marriage of second, third, or fourth wife, these can still be utilized as business enterprises where, it's a marriage unit that generates funds for a business. Women turn lemon
Okay. Well, yes. Sorry. We will have the last speaker before we open up to the floor. I think there's a lot of excitement and reactions that we want to expect from the floor. But we're here with Mr. Damfa. He's representing his colleague, although he first represented the minister. They're all busy, they're not here. But we would just want him to give us, having heard from all of us, maybe I don't know whether you had briefs from Abdullah, but what we're going to ask you is, having heard what we have all said, just give us a policy brief or guidance on as to what we're saying or what the ministry is doing in terms of improvement. Because this has been there for the past 20, 25 years, talking about how to improve, talking about investment funds, what do they call them, the other one? Venture capital. I mean, a lot of things have been there since I was there, you know. And things have not happened. We just want to know, you know, what is happening in terms of all this, because all this goes to really help the women in what we're doing.
All right, thank you very much. Basically, like mentioned here over and over again, access to finance is a challenge, especially for women entrepreneurs in this country. We've said it over and over then, but the fact of the matter is, like, let me take you back to historical lane for us to understand what at the Ministry of Trade, what we are doing there. Like, I remember when she was a permanent secretary, 2010 thereabout, we had a project called GAM Jobs. The objective of the project was to create employment opportunities for women and youth. And then there was a window, financing window for women and then youth. We gave them loans, but what happened was majority of the women entrepreneurs that took the loan really paid back. We got 100% recovery rate from the women. That was a successful story from their side. So we continue. We want to roll it over to the next window, but the other consequence, that's the youth, we are not very much. Their repayment was not forthcoming. I remember we had back and forth with the ministry then, but it was not successful. Up to a point, heads of the ministry were telling us they are not going to pay back the loan. Yes, they made it very clear. She's a living witness to that. So this really scared our donors, or our partners in development, to say, now, if we give you funding, we train these young people and women, we provide seed monies for them, and the recovery becomes a challenge for the other consequences, or for the other cohort, that's a youth. Do you think we can proceed with this? Eventually, it leads to what? The other funding window was shut down completely. The funds were not accessible anymore. Even the women were somehow affected because they were not able to access those funds. So that's one part of this story. Moving forward, as a ministry, we didn't stop there. We also ventured into other activities. That's what we have the She Trade Initiative. This was really proposed for only women entrepreneurs. And I can tell you, like, it was a very successful initiative at the ministry. Up till now, though it's officially phased out, but we are still running, we are still working with those entrepreneurs that were really successful in that She Trade cohort. We're also working with the cross-border women entrepreneurs. Because we all know that, like, at the Lumos here, we have so many women playing a significant role in the Lumos. They have resources, they have funds, but sometimes most of them didn't bank with the commercial banks. They kept monies at their houses or with their relatives. Eventually, most of those monies are lost. What we are doing, we really are working with them to ensure that they are into financial or into banking, so that their monies are safe, and also into other productive activities. Currently, just 2 weeks ago, we've developed we validated the National Industrial Policy and Diversification Policy. This policy, what we are looking at industrialization, because Gambia is a signatory to the Africa Continental Free Trade Zone. We really, as a government, we don't want to be passive players in the continental market. how can we become active players? We need to do production, we need to do manufacturing, we need to do value addition, we need to do processing. All this cannot happen when we don't have an industrial policy in place. That is why we already developed one, and then we don't only call it industrial policy, we call it national industrial policy and diversification. We really want to diversify our economy completely. From the traditional industrialization, we want to at least modernize it. Like in agriculture, you start the production up to the last stage of the value chain, which is you take it to the market, includes the processing and all whatnot. So we are doing this. We also have the MSME policy. Here we know the MSMEs, they contribute significantly to both employment creation and improvement in the livelihood of people. But our challenge now is most of the MSMEs are not growing that much. Once they started, because of they have access to finance constraints, they don't grow to the level where we want them to be. For example, they will start as individuals, but it only stops at individual worker. They don't hardly employ additional hands to help in the expansion of the business, simply because they cannot expand. They find it very challenging to access funding. What we are doing now is we want to make sure at least funding is available, but at a very reasonable cost. Yes, funds are available, but the cost of financing is the challenge we have in this country. Banks are ready to give loans, but the lending rate provided by the commercial banks is very, very high. Even the microfinance, sometimes they exchange it for certain properties or so, but still is very, very high because of the prime lending rate they got from central bank. If that is high, obviously the banks are also into making profits. So definitely for the final consumer will always have the loans available to them at a very, very high rate. So like somebody also talked about the capital fund. This initiative started with central bank, I think 2 years ago. I think they are still working on it. It's not yet finalized. Once that is finalized, I know most of our MSMEs players will have access to innovative funding. So this is what we are doing at the ministry's level. We also have a trade policy currently being reviewed. I think the IITC is reviewing. Then we have this social development fund. At the social development fund, they have a partnership with IITC currently. They are doing on lending to couples, but still now it's most of the couples. Again, women have a significant role in that also, because sometimes I attended the credit review meetings at SDF, but most of the beneficiaries in that access the loans are women, but they are, the repayment is always 100%. Agricultural lending is not many in this country because of the high risk. I remember in one of our committee reviews, there was a particular farmer, he took loan, very big amount, but then naturally he was like, last rains were not very, very good. He was not able to pay back. So these are some of the risks that the financial institutions are very much careful when they are doing agricultural lending, because you hardly, or you can't even predict what nature will bring in the coming weeks or so. So this is a challenge. But what we are doing at SDF, we are trying to ensure that we increase the loan portfolio to this association or CAFOs from where they are now is about 3 million to at least 5 million. So that is significant improvement somehow. So what the women CAFOs will do, they will organize themselves into groups, maybe 5, 6, they registered and they applied for the loans. Once they applied, it's group lending for onward lending to their members. So that is really paying dividend. We are also into that as a ministry. So basically these are what we are doing to ensure that, and also one major thing I forgot about is the procurement for the women entrepreneurs. Yes, at the ministry we are responsible for, the procurement directorate is not under our purview, but we make sure we work with Minister of Finance to ensure that women entrepreneurs have access to government projects and government procurement activities. We all know government is the biggest consumer. So once women have access to government support in terms of procurement, I think many of them will definitely move from a particular grade to another grade. So this is what we are doing at the Ministry of Trade level and also at the central government level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you are doing a lot of work at the Ministry of Trade. However, you need to do more in terms of some biases towards women. I mean, until we are at the same level, I think we need to do some biases do some affirmative action until we are apart, and then you can let loose and everybody goes. Yeah, but I just wanted to say, Damfa, that this Jobs project that we had was very successful, and probably you may want to take it up with other donors and do a replica of that. We wouldn't go far, but I just want to inform the public, or those of us that are here, especially the Gambians who know Fatou Sengay. She was a product of that venture, and that is why she is, with other things of course, but she had a lot of support from the Jobs project, and we went with her along, and she was the reason why I visited Soma and the places. Farafenye, I had to go, but I mean, it's a success story that everybody would want to be associated with. So thank you very much, Mr. Damfa. That was quite explicit, but we just want you to do more. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have half an hour to go. So, is there anybody who would have the roaming mic, or mics are at the table? No? No, let's, okay, please, Nogoy. Okay, please, the ambassador, Madam Ambassador wants the floor. And then from there, now let's look at something. Can we take 3 questions in a row, and then after the answers, then we take another 3. That would be fine. Okay, ladies first.
Women's event.
Except when there is war. So you.
Auntie Nefi,
Yes,
I beg to differ, because women are strategically positioned to fight anything, both physical war and emotional war and theoretical war.
I know, but when it's war, let the men go.
Basically, I have 2 observations from Fatou, right? We have to be intentional about everything we want to do if we want to change the narrative. This is the first time I'm hearing that women are the highest risk, and I share that with you. Especially when it comes to money loan for businesses. Women are never the high risk. I don't know where we got that benchmark in Gambia from, but we must look at it differently. And like you rightly say, we need to start having data. Because the men, we all laughed about it when Fatou was mentioning you can you marry wife, but because of the patriarchy society in Africa, we don't look at that as this is money for business. But one thing I know, sometimes priority change. When you give women money, their priority change if family emergency came up. If a man wants to buy a car tire and the child is sick, the car tire is the priority because that's where the money is. So our focus are different. But intentionally, when we talk about finances and loan giving to women, especially SMEs for trading, I'm hearing this for the first time at high risk. When I started doing my, is a perception. So we must change that perception today. Thank you, sir. Go.
I know for sure that my financial institution and many other financial institutions see women as less risk than men. Based on repayment. If you take the group financing, for example, group loans, they are specifically targeting women. For all the microfinances in this country, they deal with women. In fact, they don't deal with men at all, because men are very high risk.
So one of my main mantra, we all know what the problem is. collectively, we need to start profiling solutions. And one of the solutions, I think my brother there or yourself, sir, mentioned about the high interest rate. We need to start looking at the Islamic model of banking. Because early this year, the platform, we decided to launch something similar. Because the number from, I'm not a financial person, but from the financial, numbers grow, right? And that's where you base your income and your analysis financially is. But we need to start looking, because the women SMEs, both from the nano, the micro, and the small, and the medium, that's where, in fact, that's where we should be concentrating and changing the narrative there. Because whether we like it or not, that's the money that actually grows the GDP of every country. Because they are consistently bringing in that little drops. So we need to sit down together, come together as non-state actors, especially people like yourself, and then we go back to policymakers to look at how do we come together to implement this, how do we make it work. Once they've put it in their paper, take it to National Assembly, it's passed, then we will come down and then make sure that at the grassroots, we be the foot soldiers. So that's what this thing is all about, is we talk about the problems, we talk about the challenges, but let's profile solutions collectively and ensure that it's being captured. And we follow it up and we go and lobby about it so that it trickles down to that people we are talking about today.
But since we're closing on this session, I don't know whether these people have a rapporteur. Definitely, a meeting of this magnitude, some of these things should come out as recommendations, and we make sure we follow them up. And one of them was for government to look at alternative means of financing, and that's why I proposed earlier that the the Women's Enterprise Fund needs to be either emulated, because government has already started, so it wouldn't stop. I don't think at the policy level they would stop other people that would want to come and join. If that is not a possibility, let them look at how to subscribe to the Women's Enterprise Fund and also have the benefits and their returns as well. So to frame it better, I think the rapporteur needs to take it up as a recommendation of this meeting. But that's why we're here. Like I said earlier, we know the problems up, inside, out. But what do we do to get out of these problems? How do we improve? I mean, it's not bad to go, but it must be focused. It must be targeted for women. I mean, in this country, when we talk about loans, we know for generally it's for, but let's look at the micro, small, medium enterprises where the women are. What do we do particularly for the women? And I think that's the way forward if we need to get out of this. So, Mr. or Ms. Rapporteur, I hope you're capturing our points very well so that by tomorrow we would have all these things ready, and then after that, because this is the basis that we could use to follow up on anything that we need. I mean, you cannot go about talking about, but we had an international meeting where people were represented, we discussed this, and this is what came out. We can follow that through. Thank you. Yes?
My name is Benjamin Aduli. This is my first time in Gambia as a Nigerian. But listening to the panelists this morning, I was confused because I was wondering, am I in Gambia or am I in Nigeria? The reason why I'm asking is this same problem is exactly Nigeria's problem. I was in National Summit in 2010, 15 years ago, where this same problem was discussed verbatim. When I say verbatim, word for word. And I am born an entrepreneur. And I left that meeting saying, this is an opportunity. And I created a cooperative in 2010 to solve this problem. This is 2025, 15 years later. We have built our own system independent of government. Today, my organization is called Mice Trade. We have our own system where first we save our own money. By our members, we have over 252,000 members. Among the panelists, I will share the story. We save a minimum of 5,000 naira every month. I'll probably call the numbers in dollars so that you understand. It looks like a small money. But today, the commercial banks are now coming to say, we have money. Do you want to take? Yes. But when they are not coming because they want to give us money. They are coming because of the sheer number of our members. Because they want to be collecting 10 naira transaction fee and 20. That's what they're interested in, not in giving us loan. But when they come, we say, no, you cannot come and take, you must give. Because life is give and take. If you want to bank with our 252,000 members, what are you willing to put on the table? That way the narrative is changing. But we did something else. First, we de-risk it for them by leveraging our collective power to guarantee our members. Because bankers are managing people's fund. It's not their money. It's OPM. It's other people's money. So you must find a way to de-risk it for them. And we did that in our own creative way. And we share that with you. So my message for you is, look, your problems are not peculiar to Gambia. It's peculiar to Africa. Any African country you go, it's the same problem. But there are solutions that are working. Just replicate them here and scale up. Then we will have the Africa we want to see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just since we are on the topic of solutions, just one thing I want to put on the table is financial literacy. This, we don't have to wait for state intervention. Anyone can get up and say, today I'm organizing a lecture on this, you can join. It doesn't even have to be paid. This is part of our development. And if you want, you can charge. But before the target audience are able to actualize all the recommendations being mentioned today, they need to have the relevant literacy necessary in order to actually foresee themselves in all of the recommendations we're making today. Thank you.
It's a continuous thing that is being done by business support organizations. For us, I can speak for the Gambia Women's Chamber. Since our inception in 2019, that's what we've been doing, to a point that some of the members feel there's too much training. Because, yes, but I think it benefited most of them, especially during the time of COVID, because there wasn't much movement, there were restrictions, and this financial literacy we extended to the use of WhatsApp, because everybody in this room, I can tell you, has a WhatsApp. So it was very easy, and I think people started seeing the benefits of financial. We're looking at, specifically tailor-made, even for those institutions that we have agreements with. What we tell them is, you don't give out the loan until and unless they are trained. So training, I think, is a continuous process. I don't know how it fits here, but maybe it would be an advice to business, because I don't think that is government's responsibility. Maybe GAIPA can take up that as a coordinator, so that they provide these services to those in the ecosystem. if that is what you are. Because I want us to be precise in what we're recommending so that tomorrow we can follow up. So I think we'll pass that on to GAIPA to make sure they provide business support organizations, members, financial literacy training for, of course, for our youth, but especially the women business support organization. Huh? I think we agree on that. Yes, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Modulamin Fati, and I'm representing Yona Group of Companies. Actually, I wanted to first thank the panelists and GAIPA, the organizers, for staging such a very important forum. That being said, I will definitely agree with our president for Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where he said that most microfinance institutions, where one of our companies is Yona Islamic Microfinance, are very much comfortable dealing with women groups than men groups. Actually, one of the success stories that we implemented in Kolikunda, CRR, North, most of the women groups that were there, over 10 groups, each membership would consist of more than 20, 25, were each giving $10,000. And then we made it in a form of a cycle, that once you are able to complete this payment, you would come for the next cycle times 2 of what was given to you in the first cycle. So most of them would pay, and then based on that, the others would be motivated, and they themselves, you'd see how they would be encouraging each other, that italibe sonna malola jang, you know, sato kono jete kun wulindi nola, julobe midindi kanala. So some of these things are what would motivate them. I'm sorry for Mr. Benjamin and others if you don't understand what I was saying. But what I was saying, So what I was saying is that the women, they would be encouraging each other in a way that they would be like, you don't want to be left behind. This loan, you need to pay it. You don't want to, you know. So you don't want to carry that burden of shame in the community because it was given to you out of trust. So that way, some of them are in their third cycle, meaning they are requesting for now $30,000 and they're going. So that money being multiplied means there is expansion in their operations. But one thing very, very important that we also need to look at is there are certain protections that the government needs to also put in place. Because women that are into these businesses would not have that market to sell and pay these fundings. Because at the end of the day, it is access to markets that will guarantee that they will have this money and pay it back. So we that are in the financial industry, we will always need to study what type of business you are venturing in, whether there is readily available market for this, whether the repayment period also needs to be guaranteed. Otherwise, like he said, other people's money. Because any day people can just stand on a banking hall and say, we want to withdraw our funds. So we cannot tell them that we gave it to some women in CRR because Auntie Nafibari was like, we need to be biased and help women. That excuse cannot hold. So I think the Minister of Trade is here, GAIPA is here. Let's make sure we have import substituting industries and support them. We have a lot of mangoes in the Gambia here. And a lot of women, especially to the Kaba girl. She is doing Kaba all round the year. But the juice that we drink are not coming from the Gambia itself. They are coming from somewhere else. So if they are crossing our borders and they are coming here, I think the borders we are talking about today, everybody will be thinking of Amdalai, everybody thinking about Farafenni and other borders. I think there exist borders even within ourselves here, invisible ones. Like I was having a conversation with her when I came in. She said she's from Sofats. I told her, are you having businesses from ministries buying sofas, furnitures to have their, when they're doing their tables in their offices? The answer is very minimal. So most people are buying from people that are bringing outside of the country and competing with our local producers. Honey, calm down. Calm down. Like Auntie everybody would say, some of these things are perception. Some of these things need to be backed with data. We have carpenters that are doing enormous work here. We have people that are replicating furniture, because the truth of the matter is, they say you don't know what you have until you lose it. But you don't also know what you are missing, because you haven't tested. You are only confined in one place. You want to go to Banjul, you know only this route OIC because it's a beautiful one. But you can easily go through Lamin Kerawan, use the ferry, and then go cross that way, because you've never exposed to that. Our elders that are here, our elders that are here will tell you in those days you can use Lady Chilal ferry and then go to Banjul, very easy. But today, if you ask me, 1996 born, I may not have experienced Lady Chilal. So I will tell you it's not possible. But if our experience and our exposure and our research is not limited to one particular thing, we would be able to understand and appreciate that our local content, even though some of them may not be strong, but if the opportunity is given to them, tried and tested, they will be able to perfect their ways. Those other people that are bringing here, perceiving that they are strong, in fact, they are doing dumping because they don't need it in their places. Most of the time, if you go to the ports, we have a lot of containers bringing Fukal Majai, Fukajai. All those things are not what they need there, but because they are dumping them in our economies and people are consuming. Thank you very much.
No, just that I meant our local content is not strong in the sense of implementation, in that we are not actually, yeah,
no,
yes, it's still.
But I think, well, Usain is here, he's the public servant now, not me, but I think in the GAIPA Act, there was an attempt, I recall, that we're trying to support local content. So I don't know how far it has gone, but maybe it needs to be followed up, or you can give us an update as to what is happening. But there was certainly, especially in terms of even paying taxes for investments and other things in relation to local content. So Usain, can you give us some clarification?
Thank you very much, Antinafi. I think what we need to clarify is there's already a local content bill. It was championed with GAIPA and the GCCI, and backed up by the Q Group. So as we speak now is at the Ministry of Justice for them to finalize it, for it to go to the National Assembly. But in the interim, policies has been done, engagement has been done with the procurement authority, and already there's a Made in Gambia strategy that we are working together with the ministry to implement, because part of the reasons that challenges we are facing in terms of investment attraction is also the domestic companies that are producing the markets. Is it adequate? And this is why, if you look at government have taken measures from the cement as well as the steel factories, because as we speak, we have about 2-3 steel factories that are producing iron rods and other things. But their raw material is scrap metals. And these scrap metals are being exported out of the country, so we derive them the raw materials needed. So that is why the last budget speech, the Minister of Finance included an export levy so that we can discourage the exporting of the scrap metals. But I think government's policy is, if we believe that the industries in country can produce enough for the whole country, then measures can be taken to protect them. But like the poultry experience, you put a measure in and then you realize that the businesses are using it to hike the prices, and then it can lead to shortages in the market. But overall, that's what happened. In terms of access to finance, yes, we understand the cost of funds is high, and sometimes that also is linked to government borrowing, because treasury bills are normally determined by government borrowing. But nevertheless, with the support of the presidency, particularly the president himself, the Enterprise Development Fund has been set up. There is already money sitting at the central bank to activate it, and I think as an institution, we've done the regulations. It has been validated with the stakeholders as well. So we're just waiting for ministerial approval, and once we have the regulations approved, the funds can be set in. And I think the minister, the overseeing minister, is very concerned because he himself has visited a number of women entrepreneurs that are doing bleach and other cleaning commodities, and he has come to realize that they need support. And the best way of supporting them is to activate the Enterprise Development Fund, where we can give part grant and loan at a discounted rate. And I think most of the microfinance businesses and the banking sector in general were invited during the validation workshops that we held to validate the regulations, because part of it is also government partnering with these institutions. Sometimes we are not as good as the banks or the microfinance enterprises when it comes to loan administration. So we want to at least contract them, subcontract it to the microfinance. But what like Mr. Fadi has said, if the cost of funds are low, then they also will be able to pass that benefit to the businesses or to the enterprises. But women entrepreneurs are really a priority for the government. I think measures have been put in place. It's just a matter of how we push the implementations. I know we talk about policy, but as a country, I think we have enough policies. We should put more of our resources towards implementation. Thank you.
Yeah, I like your conclusion. Said women entrepreneurship. Because when you talked earlier, you talked about enterprise fund, and that there was no qualification. But in concluding, you said women's entrepreneurship, and I think no, you can laugh, but that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're here to promote the women's access to finance. And that is, I think, what the topic has been. So let's do justice to that. You were not here when we talked about that, but I definitely talked about that. That was the time we asked whether you have a rapporteur in-house, because we were talking about how the other agents or the microfinance agencies could join forces to help the Women's Enterprise Fund, because there's a Women's Enterprise Fund currently being held at the Ministry of Gender. Yeah, but I think it's the same thing if we have this Women's Enterprise Fund also, or is it just Enterprise Fund?
No, I think it's, unfortunately, we're trying to do more for gender, but again, we're a public institution that is open to everyone. But yeah. what we are pushing more towards is the women and the youths, because this is where we feel that the level of entrepreneurship is very high, and their involvement in small-scale businesses is very high.
Well, by default, you will have to give it to the women and the youth, because they are the people that are involved in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at our training, particularly the entrepreneurship trainings that we've been carrying out, the majority are women. And most of these women entrepreneurs around will tell you that one way or the other, they have interactions and engagement with us. And we will continue to support them and promote them in terms of getting access to markets.
You were not also here when we concluded that GAIPA should take a key role in the promotion of financial, what did we say? Was it finance? No. Financial literacy, and we had done a recommendation that we should help these groups that are in existence, especially the women's group, for their members to be literate in the financial whatever that we talked about.
I think we're already doing that. I think as of yesterday, even if you look at our office in Farafenye, particularly all these women involved in cross-border trade, they are providing them financial literacy, but also trying to help them to formalize their businesses. But like I said, we are open.
But some of these things, Mr. Sengo, I think this is not the place to debate that. Yeah. But I think some of these things, you as coordinators should really be contacting also the business support organization, because we are also here to help you. For example, the Gambia Women's Chamber has regional chapters. The women are there. We've worked with the multi-sectoral project funded by the ITC and UNDP and others. That was why we set up the regional chapters. They're existing, and we've used that medium to train a lot of people. We have chapters in all the regions. So I think there's no gainsaying that we should be part of your core team if it comes to training of women.
I think that's true because ITC is here. We're working with them in the Farafenye, North Bank and the Elara region.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I think we will take it offline and we will arrange a meeting with GWCC as well as the chamber, so that even so that we avoid the duplications and the fragmentations and try to bring it together, because we don't have the resources to do the whole country on all the regions. But where we feel that NEDI is strong, we leverage on NEDI. If we feel in a region that the GCCI is strong, we leverage on GCCI. Because at the end of the day, the objective is the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I would just want to contribute to. Okay.
Okay. Is it afternoon? Good afternoon to you all. I am Godulum Jones from the Gambia Revenue Authority. As we are talking about finances, I was thinking whether we have ever thought of having these women when we are taking these decisions, that is these financial decisions. We normally have, are they well represented? Because we have to also look into that. We have good policies, we come up with policies, but are they really involved? Like as we are saying that the banks are giving 18% for loans, have we ever consulted them to know whether these rates are very high? And if we have consulted them that these rates are very high, what effort have we made? Did we also go back to the policies to look into the policies and talk to the banks that maybe when these women entrepreneurs are here to take loan, we make sure that we give them a special inclusive policies of these loans? Have we ever thought of that? That was one of the suggestions. And also, as the man from the GAIPA mentioned, we've been giving them a lot of training, but are we aware whether they've registered their businesses also to have these finances? Because if you don't register your business, I don't think anybody will be there to give you these finances. What effort are we doing to encourage them to register their businesses, to be able to get capital? Because if you don't register your business, I don't think you will just be able to go to anybody and say, I want fund when your business is not registered. How best are we also helping them to know how to do that registration, where to go? Are we streamlining all those processes? Do they have to go to Ministry of Justice, to Trade, to Customs? Are we thinking of streamlining these processes so that maybe it will just be one stop where they will be able to do all these processes, even if it is going to be digital, where maybe they can even sit in their businesses and also get registered rather than going to Ministry of Finance, Trade, going up and down with their documents. I think that's also something that we should also look into. Thank you.
She's been saying. On the last point of formalization, I think that is why business support organizations exist. Except from those who are not part of any organization. But I can speak for the Gambia Women's Chamber. The number one criteria that we do before registering any member is that you have to be a registered business, because our focus has been to avoid this informal trade. And that's why we have this agreement with your office, GRA, that every year they would come twice to teach the women about taxation and the importance of taxation. So that is a given. If you are a member of the GWCC, you are assured that you are registered and you follow the registration process. I mean, well, it does not exist in the Gambia where you would sit at even the single window is very difficult to access. What we do is that we help you, hold your hand, and tell you what it is from the office to just eliminate bottlenecks that you may face. But really, I don't think it exists where you would sit in your office and then punch and do. We are yet to get there, but that was really the purpose of having this single window business registration. I don't know, what was your other point again? Whether, I know this is about the, You know, there's a regulator in town, and that is the central bank, and all this goes to deal with government. Now, even the microfinance institutions that give you loans on lower than this, I don't think they manifest it to a point that everybody knows, because they tell you you are trying to distort the market, and it's not acceptable. I remember once, whether it was the SAF or whatever, we tried to convince central bank, but they were not. So that risk factor is just taken by the microfinance institutions as a way of help. And I can tell you that we are beneficiaries of that. Because we can't wait for government, or we can't wait for the rates to come down. If you go to the bank, sometimes they have a special product. Likewise, the microfinance institution. But they will tell you, because they look at their monies as investment. If they put it in treasury bills, it yields them 10% and more. Why should they come down to give you a loan that is risky and other things? We understand, but again, like Hussein said earlier, it all depends on the macroeconomic situation of this country. Government must take a decisive decision and make sure that it tries to lower the interest rates. If the interest rates go down, of course these people will also reduce their margins, and all that depends on the government, not only borrowing, but the government expenditure. So if government expenditure is high, they ultimately turn to borrowing, and borrowing, of course, becomes higher. I think we're in a, except where government makes it a policy that for women, this is the rate, and that's what we're going to abide by. Unless that happens, I think we would continue to suffer and be at that level. Thank you. Mr. CDA.
So, okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to buttress more about the business formalization that actually, as Mr. Senghor of GAIPA said, we had an MOU between NEDI and GAIPA. We have business formalization centers in LRR and in Basse presently. And all these centers are equipped with computers where if you want to formalize your business, you can get in there and you have support staff who put you through. But this will take me back to the lady from GRA. I think we should need to collaborate, hence they are also part of the stakeholders who should help decentralize this business formalization so that they will have some of their offices in the regions where some of these women groups can just walk in and be able to submit their documents and formalize their businesses. The other thing also I wanted to add on is that as at NEDI, we also do training. And this training is on literacy. We do a lot of training on literacy, business management, and to groups and individuals. So we will invite any women group, and that Mr. Fati, who is from Yona. I think it's important that we also liaise with some of our organizations, because if you are lending to women and you give them $10,000, you need them to grow. And some of these things, they can only grow when they have knowledge. Creating market linkages equally, that is very important. One thing is providing the finances. The other thing is how do you make them to grow? Because some of them, they just know one set of business. They take the 10,000, they share it among themselves, go and sell, bring it back. But do they know what the other regions might do? Maybe they are more competent or expertise in areas that maybe the next community cannot do. So creating market linkages, we can also provide that. If they go to our website, that's the NEDI website, they'll be able to have a lot of information. In terms of training, you can register requests for training as a group, as an individual, which will also support some of the businesses that they want. And also it's important that people try to create these partnerships, because in business you cannot just be domiciled to one area and you are not exploring into the other. You have to create a network, and this is also lacking in some of these groups, because they are just predominantly at their area, at their locations. They are not made to explore other areas to be able to do business. Probably they can import from another region, bring and resell Because, for instance, I could remember back in the days, I hail from Fonyi, and the problem we had was we don't have dry fish. So the people from Nyomi would bring dry fish and take kush. So there was this barter system. But nowadays, you know, with the advent of technology, I think we should be able to use all those information so that some of these women cooperative groups can also understand what is available at the other regions, and they could also partner, and they could collaborate more. Maybe they produce soap and send to, and other people can produce omo or detergents. But all these things can happen through training, manuals, and using the technology, networking, information sharing. And as government, I think we are doing a lot of that. Probably a lot of people don't know, but recently, in fact, we have said on our website that grant for support, and the Deputy General Manager, I'm sure, should be able to set light on that, so that all young entrepreneurs, be it women or individuals, because mostly we supporting individuals, they can send in their applications. So this supports also helps, so some of these groups. But at our level, we're trying to move more into helping groups, because recently, most of the young people that would come to you and say, I want to do this business, you give them the money, the next day they're in Libya. So we are having that challenge. No, that's the truth. And that's why when we are talking about women, I was really happy. It's impressive that this woman will not take this money and leave. But most of our young people nowadays, they will come with fanciful ideas and business mindset, business plans. But if you give them a certain amount of money, they will sit 1 or 2 days. I said, let me just leave this country and try something else. And I'm sure financial institutions also have the same challenges that we are also facing. And that's not the idea. The intention is to make sure that we create jobs. But you give some of these resources to these young people, you find it will not interest them. We have returnees who have came back and we supported them through the IOM. Some of them are doing good, but some of them, you give them the money again, they will go back. So I want to believe that we should focus more on helping the women, because I'm not saying this to make you people happy, but we will look at that. One of my board members is here, so probably we will do that as a pilot. We will support more women groups than even individual young people, unless if you have an established business, but not a newcomer or a new startup. We want to help startup, but there's always a challenge and there's a risk. And it's not that the government is not doing, and through the Giraffe project, there's a lot of support. But if you go into hinterland and try to assess some of these projects, you don't even see anything. And I think with training and financial support, most of these women groups can do a lot. Thank you very much.
Yes. Hello. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Nafi. My name is Mamadou Lamin Cham. I'm from the Senegal-Gambia Permanent Secretariat. And I've been working with Nafi for a long time on women issues. We started at ActionAid. When we want to eradicate poverty, then the issue of women comes always at the top. And it's always a challenge. The only way to help women is to take affirmative actions, because in many ways women are disadvantaged. I've had very interesting issues. I listened to all the presentations and I learned a lot. The area I wanted to talk about is mainly around financial literacy that was mentioned and which is related to governance. Businesses have to realize that a business is an entity of its own, and if you keep proper records and make the business a separate entity of its own, when you keep proper records and make profit, if you are eating out of that profit reasonably, it's okay. If you are a man and you are making profit enough, it's okay to get 1 or 2 wives. It's okay, as long as it's out of the profit, not the capital. So the women also, yeah, if you manage your business properly, keep proper records, and make profit, you can take a reasonable amount of that profit to do ngentes and whatever. But make sure that that's properly managed, you are keeping proper records, and then you are eating only into the profit, not the capital. I think that's very, very important. In fact, the reason why I was keen to come here, because as I said, I work for the Senegal-Gambia Permanent Secretariat, and we are very much concerned about border issues, free movement of persons and goods. And when we do that, our major stakeholders are the women, especially at the borders. They face a lot of problems, and we get a lot of complaints from them. And even though Gambia and Senegal, we say we are 2 nations, 1 country, 2 countries, 1 people. But when we come to the borders, there are usually some problems there. And the main victims are the women. Although if we look at the commitment between the 2 countries at the highest level, we organize what we call presidential councils and the consultative commission meetings. On paper, the relationship between the Gambia and Senegal is number 1. Everything is okay, trade agreements have been signed, border agreements have been signed, but the implementation is the problem. There are a lot of issues on the implementation, non-tariff barriers, and that's what keeps us very, very busy, and to see how we help women, because most of the time the women are the victims. That's the little I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I think she's a lady. Ladies first. Go ahead. Is there anybody with a mic? Good afternoon once again. I'm Charles Alvarez. I work in the telecommunication. Nothing much could have been said better anyway. Most of them here spoken earlier have highlighted or covered most of the areas I have wanted to talk about. But nevertheless, to address some of the issues that we are facing, I'm saying we because of I'm a man or a woman, but I'm seeing more of a feminist in part of the ladies' side. Yes, and in our purview here, I have heard of Mr. I don't know, the other guy on the left there, who was talking about financial literacy, which is very important in this aspect. But nonetheless, having a thought of digital literacy would have also helped in great detail. Yes, and in this point, I would rather make a suggestion if we could leverage the digital platforms to create new world in terms of other means using technologies. The platform as a support service would also do a great deal, whereas it will facilitate businesses and also help the women in this aspect to understand the entry to the market where they are entering into in terms of agro-processing materials or whatever they'll be dealing with, as well as the customers and the market they'll be facing with.
So having a platform as a support service would definitely help in great detail. So, and would also entail other aspects of using e-commerce, whereas buying and selling of goods online would really add a great advantage, or also save the cost that the women are saving, right? My colleague here has also mentioned about governance, which is key importance, at the same thing as how do we eradicate barriers in informal trade, like the harassment, this assortment at the borders faced by women. So through digital transformation, I think this can also help leverage or solve most of the issues we are confronted here. Yes, the governance aspect is key, right? Most of the speakers here have mentioned the challenges that women are facing in terms of managing their finance and becoming more independent. So I would also suggest having promotional inclusion in terms of having a representative where these policies are made. Women has to be seen sitting at where GAIPA is, where these policies are made, where Salam is working, and whoever is having a business deal with women, we need to have a women representative sitting in terms of policy, trade policies making, and logistics, and in terms as well as ratifying agreements. It's very important that we have women sitting in the midst of these decisions where decisions are made, most especially in the local governments, right? So it's important that we also sit where the local governments like the KMCs, the municipalities, where these decisions are made, and they are directly affecting women in some way or the other. It's key important that we also consider this as a solution in terms of leveraging certain opportunities ahead. So this is not to say much about it, but I would rather suggest let's try to leverage the digital technology to create new wealth, not only to other forms of logistics using traditional business. We can also use the modern day of doing businesses, which is really, really important in this. E-commerce cannot be overcompromised here. So we definitely have to overcome the traditional way of doing business. And I'm sure if my colleague there also consider training people on digital literacy would also do a great help, because that's skills transfer. We can also have skills transfers done to online training development, that women, okay, I'm not very sure about the statistics here, but I'm very confident that 80% or 70% of youths, right, engaging into business are more digital literate than 10 years down the road. Because unlike days ago, where our women, our mothers, our grandmothers haven't thought of digital technology in this way, so it was really difficult for them to escalate, to expand, to grow. So, but with the digital platform, we can do a lot, and we can grow faster in an unexpected manner. So I would suggest this forum to also consider having that as a training, as a key training, as an importance in this note, so that we can leverage to the next level. Because I believe, looking at the incentives, the initiatives that is on the international trade centers, this is one of the key aspects that they are looking at. You cannot compare ourselves with the advanced world, but in terms of technology, the world is flat. There's nothing we cannot do. In agriculture, we could say it's round, it's spherical, but in our perspective, in telecommunication, it's flat. I'm here today, I can be selling goods to America right away. If I send an SMS today, an ATP service, within a second it reaches America, it reaches anywhere in the world. And through that we can make business. So I'm not saying that it's going to take too long to have our solution solved. So all these challenges mentioned here, I'm seeing it rather an opportunity. There are no more challenges because we can leverage this platform to create new solutions, new wealth, new digital money, and we can do a lot here. So this is not to mention more. I would rather cut it short from here. Thank you.
Forward, but we also have challenges like the payment systems because it's not, I don't think it's functional here. You have the PayPals and the others that people can use. Not, huh? No, the wallets, I know. Of course, no, nowadays, yes, the wallets are helping a lot. And I think in the Gambia, that would not be a problem because anybody you talk to now, I have Wave, I have Yona this, I have Nafa this. I mean, it's all over, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then, so the gateways are, I think some countries are signing to that. The parks. Yes. Is it effective? Gambians are using it? Because it wasn't effective here. I know they were working on it, I know, but I don't think. But anyway, the concept is good, and that can make, I think what we need to also work on is the infrastructure. We're talking of financial literacy and all this stuff, but what brings your goods from Nairobi to Gambia is another challenge nowadays. Yes, the infrastructure within Africa, trading within Africa is not easy. Of course, the monies are coming, but the infrastructure is not there. You can ship to America tomorrow. 2 days they get it, but when you want to do to Nairobi or East Africa, even a Freetown here, by flight it would take you 1 hour. If you want to get there, before your goods get there, it would go to Morocco and come down. But all the same, I think it's encouraging, and we definitely should work on that because, especially for Gambians, we have a small market. Integration is the way forward, and that will bring us hope because we are a nation of about 2 million, 2.5. Now, I just heard the gentleman talked about an association where you have 200 and something membership, and I just jumped because, I mean, that's not possible. That's almost 1/4 of our population. But then if we open up with this integration, I think it can lead us to bigger markets, and it would be to our advantage, especially. Anybody wanted the floor again? No, Fatima, okay. And I saw a last one, at the end there. We need.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yahya Jammeh, a private business entrepreneur and a member of GWCC and GCCI, and a member of GAIPA as well. I want to thank them for inviting me here today. My focus is on the international trade fairs because as we are here doing business, we want to go far. We want to be connected. We want to do B2B with other African countries. But as a single business owner, I've been invited by GAIPA and I've been invited by GWCC as well, and we've been to Turkey and Morocco and other countries. But the problem I have is the sponsor, because we are partly sponsored. And it's very difficult for us to pay our flights, pay the hotels, pay your food, and be on that platform. And it's all about Gambia, because we go there, bring things, and buy it and sell them here again. So we want to plead with the entity or the policymakers to fully fund these entrepreneurs that are going to the international fairs. Because if I want to go to Nigeria fair now, if I'm invited, I have a visa or buy my ticket, maybe the hotel is expensive to be there for a week or 5 days. And we take the opportunity, if we are out there, we will want to explore the market after the exhibition. We will want to explore the market and buy some goods and make B2B connections and bring some goods over here, which our people really love. The things we brought in are very good quality. As my mentor is here and my friend, Auntie Nafi, we are doing business, and definitely this is my problem. And I know some other young girls or young women or women that are single mothers will want to be over there into the international market to see and explore. But our problem is how government is going to fully fund us or the institutions so that we can comfortably go with our own money and then buy. But if you want to take your money along and then buy food and then pay the hotel bills, the amount of goods you want to bring in is always limited. And also what the lady said from JRA, we always have a problem paying our taxes or paying our business registrations because you have to go up and down. We would want it to be digital so that anywhere you are sitting, you can pay through your credit cards or you can pay through online. Also, GPPA, I have a problem with GPPA. The last time I went there, we were paying like $3,000. Now it's $15,000. It's way too, they jump from A to 10, A to H or F. It's too high for us. It's too high for us. Definitely, we've been talking here a lot, and that gentleman from Nigeria, I want to welcome the Nigerian delegate. Sorry about not doing that for the first time I pick up their mic. But things are being said. We attended forums. We attended many seminars, many conferences. And look at the institution like NEDI. I'm just hearing it now that NEDI, you have to go and register. I've never known that. You say. So if you want to attend all these things and there's no implementation, then I think that is why most of the business entrepreneurs, the hall is not filled up. Because people get tired of attending seminars, attending conferences, and there is no implementation. That also we have to look into. We have to implement things faster. And also to Jundu, congratulations for being elected. Mr. President. The microfinances, this loan interest is killing us. I don't know how best you can help us as private or single entrepreneurs, because we want to take loans. We want women to bring in containers. We want women to be in the forefront of business. But the finance and the loan, the interest is definitely killing us. I don't know how you can put it down, because you gave an example about Rwanda, 3.5%. I don't know when will Gambia get that, because it's always not, apart from the collateral, the rate of interest is too high. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
So everybody's hungry. We will note it. It's noted. No, but I think they were valid points, and that's the reason why we're meeting here. So we'll take them into consideration. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. My thanks goes to the panelists, and then the topic that you brought forward is a very important and a very interesting one for that matter. I am Dembo Echuaiba. I am from Gaipa. One thing that I would like to emphasize here, which is very important as far as financing is concerned. In any setup that we have, in the financing is a very important ingredient. In the absence of financing, just forget about it. It's not going to work. But here, I mean, we need to understand that as far as business is concerned, if you want to look for a loan from these conventional banks, the interest rates will never change, because they are dealing with liabilities. They are not going to risk it. And then if you look at, if they want to give you a loan, they will say 18%. If you look at the principal, for instance, you want to take 500,000. If they are going to give you that, you have to look for a collateral security. As a beginner, we are going to have that. It becomes a challenge. So the barriers, they are clearly indicated. We have to talk about them. If you want to change the narratives, we need to, look in for, other dimensions, such as what the roots alongside with GCCI, the 4P matching grant that they are doing presently is a very good, way forward. Because with the conventional banks, if you apply for a 500,000, there's a 18% interest rate. If you look at the principal plus the interest rate that you are going to pay at the end of the day, from the first go even, they will ask you, if they are going to grant you the 500,000, they will say you have to pay 5% of process negotiation fee. From the 500,000, that's 25,000 is gone. So they'll give you 475,000. So it's not going to be healthy for you. I think the 4P margin grant, what that Roots is doing for these CAFOs businesses is a very good one. You will apply, they'll give you 80% of the funds and you put 20% of the funds. Nothing like you have to bring collateral, nothing like there is a risk adverse. I think government should venture into those matching grant stuff, whereby the businesses will come up with 20% or 10%, and then they will give them the 80% or 90%. With that, everybody will be okay at the end of the day, and then it runs smoothly. But most importantly, most of the capital goods or the equipment that they are going to use, let them procure it for them. Because we know Gambia, if you give them money, problems are ahead of them. Diversion is very high. So you procure the equipments, the capital goods that they're going to use in their businesses. I think that's going to be very important and it's going to be helpful. Thank you so much.
We hope you will influence policy and help us with these problems. Thank you for your observations. Thank you. Well, good afternoon once again. I think people are ahead of me. People have started parking. But I think it was a long session. However, it was a very productive one, according to my assessment. We have had the interactions. We just hope that the few recommendations that we have would be carried forward so we see what would happen. Because the problems have been here, like everybody is saying, for a very, very long time. But let's do it systematically. I think we have about 3 or 4 recommendations. We have not come up with a shopping list. 3, 4, I think, we should be able to pursue and make sure that even one out of them, if we are committed to that, it should take us a very long way. Thank you very much and have a good lunch.
Thank you.
Also a recap also for the next day to capture key points before we start any session. So thank you. Now, like you already said, lunch has been served, and I believe most of you have your tickets. For those that did not have, let's with the ushers and we move on. Thank you. It's going to be held outside, upstairs. Yes, you can just lace with the ushers and they will guide you right there. Thank you. And of course, we would also like to employ a male and a female entrepreneur, because we cannot share these experiences without your own personal experiences in doing business. So we'll want to have one volunteer entrepreneur. We don't want to call on anyone. Male and a female entrepreneur to also join the idea session. Yes, the one for Commonwealth. Aquila Solutions. And that is Miss Amina Amendi Kwaku. I only hope I pronounced the name right. Ma, you're welcome. And like I announced before, even though we are going to have Ms. Seinabu Njai Jallo of the Commonwealth Businesswomen, but still it's imperative to have an entrepreneur from the businesses, a male and a female. You cannot share ideas without you, the first-time experiences. So we wish to once again call on any volunteer, an entrepreneur who is a male and an entrepreneur.
But we need to be able to say it. I tell you, if you are smacking your child of 10 years old because he or she did something wrong, don't just beat the child. You tell the child why you are beating the child or why you are punishing that child. So he or she knows not to do it. So that's what we are doing, amplifying voices around trade partnership without bother. Let the woman from Senegal come into Gambia and sell her good as long as she meets all the legal requirements and not being stopped at the border for any reason. So that's why we're here. And today I didn't even know she was a former CEO of Taiwan. But something attracts me to her and attracts her to me, and like, we need to talk. and we started talking on the ITC platform, the She Trades. But here we are, and I actually told her, I don't know, Babukar, I didn't tell Babukar to call you on the stage. Because I actually told her that this is a specialized section where we come to talk about problems, solutions, and a way forward. And let's hear from people who have been in that trail, who have experienced all these things we're talking about. And I said, please come over, sit with us, let's talk. She said she will contribute from there. But thanks to Babukar, she is here with us.
He was in the spirit.
He was in the spirit. So we need to be open. We need to talk about issues. I know my sister here, Akila, and that's another thing. She came from Côte d'Ivoire. She took Sky, African Skyline. She left Côte d'Ivoire about 7 a.m. and she got here about 6 p.m. last night after stopping in 3 or 4 African countries. And the price tag is high. But those are part of those things. If I'm not doing my goods through roads or sea, I have to do air. These are things that we need to address also. I heard my sister over there talking about her goods, wanting government to sponsor her or support you as a private business thing. That's a different whole story completely. But you'll get there, and I pray in the next couple of years, you will be supporting small businesses coming up to go to international trade centers. I'll go to Akila. From your experiences and what we're just talking, because this is a specialized area, talking about women entrepreneurs, catalysts for economic growth in Africa, and the challenges. So what's your experience, and how are you addressing those challenges? I won't talk about the Akila solution, so I'll let you do that yourself.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. After the lunch, it's like we want to sleep, but I'm sure because the session is practical, we will not sleep. Amandine Kwaku is my name. It doesn't sound Nigeria, but I live in Nigeria. I'm an Ivorian, Côte d'Ivoire, father and mother. I was born in Côte d'Ivoire. I studied outside Africa, and I decided to come back to Africa to run my business. I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years into the ICT environment. I've been developing solutions for businesses, big enterprises, state as well, and small businesses. So when it comes to women entrepreneur, I think I have word to say because I've been there and I know the challenge we are facing. I want to use the opportunity to also thank the organizer. We need to talk about things, and more we talk about and more we find the solution. But there's something I don't really share when it comes to women. I listened to the first session and everything was help women, help women. No, it's not charity. I don't want the women subject to be presented as charity. What women need is empowerment. We are not begging. We have the capability, we have the capacity, we have the knowledge. What we need is empowerment, is structure, and we can do, as I said, what a man can do, a woman can do better 10 times. But what she needs is a structure. So let us not look at the woman empowerment story. When we talk about women, it's not charity. We are not begging. We want to play our role. And naturally, as a woman, we know how to manage. We know how to manage the children to go to school. We know how to manage the husband when he comes back from work. We know how to manage. what we want as entrepreneurs, we want to have the structure to be able to boost the African economy, because we are the main resources Africa need to move. So when it comes to technology, I just want to share something we did in Nigeria. We developed a solution, and my brother here will talk about his business, but he's actually using my solution to run his business. And that's the collaboration. Yeah. That is exactly the collaboration. I told him, when he saw the solution, he said, I wanted to develop, but you have done it already. There's no need for me to reinvent the wheel. So let us use your solution and run our multiple cluster entity business. I was listening to group, etc. What we did is to find a solution to run away from the banks. We work on the cooperative management solution, where we have a platform that is running as a bank. We have the market women into the platform. They are organized in the cluster, 10%. They take the loan, and we know that the 10% that has taken the loan, they will be the guarantor of each other. There's no need to bring your house as collateral, because there's no risk when it comes to women, especially when she knows that the money she will get is to run her business and take care of her family. So the journey as a woman entrepreneur is not easy. We have a lot of challenges. Sometimes I go for a meeting and people ask me, is your boss coming? Because I think I'm the PA. I said, no, my boss is not coming, I'm the boss myself. It happens, yes. It's happened, especially when you go to the, sorry to say, a Muslim area. And I did a lot of projects in the northern Nigeria, where you have 99% of the population Muslim. So when you get there, I dress up like a Muslim, I'm a Christian, but I dress up naturally like a Muslim lady. But people will look at you and said, are you coming with your boss? I said, no, I'm the one you will have to discuss with. So you see the face change. It's a lot of challenge we have. But the good thing is when we manage to prove that we are more than what people think, they trust us, and the people are ready to push. That's why I keep on saying that we should not look at the woman's story as a charity. We are not seeking for charity. We want to play our role. So Aquila Solution has been developed to manage a group of people that want to run their business. We resolve multiple problems. The distribution channel. Yes, agricultural sector is actually very risky, right? So what we did in our platform, we created a marketplace where when you produce your rice, we sell the rice into the platform. So you don't go and look for the markets. We have the market woman into the same platform. So we buy the rice for the producer. If he needs loan, we give him the loan as a cooperative. We give the loan, we buy your product, we put the product on the marketplace, and people on the marketplace buy your product. A big challenge we have is the distribution channel. And this is something we can do all over Africa. If I'm producing cocoa in Cote d'Ivoire, I should be able to be in partnership with somebody in Gambia and send my cocoa in Gambia and pay with a digital payment gateway that exists today. I can pay in SEFA, and you receive it in Naira, you receive your money in Dallas, you receive it in your currency. The system is in place. We have tested it in Nigeria and is working. We need to resolve the problem of the distribution. Yes, agriculture are risky. Why are they risky? Because you don't know when they will harvest, and you don't also know when they can sell the product. So we are telling them, contribute. We give you the loan, but when you finish your product, you pay the loan with your product. So we sell the product into the platform, we collect our money, We give you the rest. And then we have a partnership with different entities, with health insurance. So we give you option. Contribute as well to get health insurance. Contribute as well to pay your children education, because we have a partnership with schools, with health insurance, with hospital, etc. Africa needs to build an ecosystem. It's an ecosystem we need. We need a system that starts from the beginning of the chain till the end. You produce, we buy, and we give you the welfare services. If you produce and you cannot have a house, we have not resolved your problem. If your children cannot go to school, we have not resolved your problem. So today the market women we have into the platform, we give them loan every week. And it's just it's a celebration. Friday, they will receive disbursement of their loan. And on Monday, they start paying on a daily basis. When she sells the tomato, she pay 1,000 because there's a payment platform that is connected. And today, every country has payment gateway. If you come to Gambia, there's a payment gateway. We just need to plug a solution. If you go to Nigeria, there's payment gateway. You go to Cote d'Ivoire, there's payment gateway. We just need an ecosystem that can be plugged into any system and create that ecosystem that will make the woman to be able to do her transaction from the beginning to the end. When it comes to the operation, I will allow Mr. Ben to talk more about it because he's using my solution more than myself. He has over 200 members on the platform. Agricultures, they are 200,000 members into the platform. And they produce, actually I'm taking the rice from his own agriculture to put on my platform for my member to buy. And it's two different entities. He's using my system, I'm using his member's product. That is what we need to do. And women have been doing that. A lot of women in Benin, they put money together, they go to China and they bring containers. It's not like we don't know. We know how it works. It's not new. We just need empowerment. We just need a system that can work for us, a financial system that will not make the woman to leave our market and go to sit at the bank. It doesn't work for us. When you leave your tomato and you go to the bank the whole day, who is going to sell? Nobody. Financial need to come to them. Then, after bringing finance to them, the education is there. But again, when it comes to education, bring the education to the woman. Don't ask us to go and spend 3 or 4 days for a training. The business is not moving. We need to find a training structure that will make the woman to enjoy the training and continue our business. She will be in the training and she will be managing, okay, have you delivered this thing to the woman? Okay, she wants a bag. She can't follow. And at the end of the day, we have not reached the expected results. What I want to say here is, as a woman, God has given us what it takes to manage. We manage family, we manage life, we manage children, we manage husband. Even when they go and marry the third wife, we come and we still manage it. If the children are not doing well, they will still manage other women children. It's part of what we are meant for. What we are asking is the structure, is the support. We are not begging. Just give us the infrastructure. Don't make us to take our product from Abidjan to Lomé to Ghana, Ghana to Sierra. That's what I did yesterday. Abidjan, Lomé, Accra, Sierra Leone, Gambia. It can't work. So if I'm selling one material, I will double the price. With the transportation, the logistic is not following. So we have the idea, we are smart, we are good. God has done everything for women. What we need is the environment. So let's see what is available, what has been done, what we did in Nigeria. Let's use solution like Aquila solution. Let's plug it into your payment gateway. Let's connect to the bank. I heard my friend here talking about the bank. So we have a system where you have those members into the platform, putting money together, organized as a cluster. And they also have the distribution channel on the same marketplace. So we need to be able to plug all those systems into a global ecosystem and make the activity to be free for all the women. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
Thank you. I'm getting signal with timing.
Okay.
But thank you so much, Aquila Solution. I think I did two things. Policy, ecosystem.
Yeah.
We need to increase the policy or review our policy on our ecosystem. And I had collaboration, not competition.
Yes.
And I know the first time we met was at the platform I launched for women.
Exactly.
And he is talking about 250,000 women on our platform. I can say it without apology. We have almost 4.8 million. Our target is to reach 10 million rural women. So we are doing it. And we talk about training, reaching the women. What we decide to do in our Entrepreneur Development Hub is to actually do 2-hour training every Monday evening online. And it's going to be from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. When you finish your house chore, you finish putting the kids to bed and everything. So you have 2 hours to your time. And we talk about all the things that falls under the ecosystem in managing your businesses yourself and your developmental growth as you move on from one stage to another. So technology and innovation is something we are working with. My brother from another mother, every time I spend with him, it's like being in a classroom. Because solutions are what he works and sleeps with. So I will let him introduce himself and talk to us about MyStrade and how he linked and started collaborating with Aquila Solutions to solve the problems of his young farmers. So he's a very, very good person to talk about the agri-business value chain. Thank you.
My name is Benjamin Atuli. I am the Chief Vision Officer, by the way. I'm not CEO. I'm the CVO. So I'm the Chief Vision Officer. We have a CEO, but I'm the Chief Vision Officer. I run MyStrade Multipurpose Cooperative Limited. We are an ecosystem of over 252,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises for now fully based in Nigeria. We built the ecosystem over the last 24 years because we divorced Nigerian banking system over 15 years ago because we were convinced that they would never help us. So we decided to build our own banking infrastructure, but as a cooperative, where we decided to save our money ourselves rather than saving it with the banks. Because the money the bankers are using to operate is our money. It's not their money. So since we are giving you the money and you don't want to help our business, we chose to keep our money ourselves. The cooperative laws in Nigeria and the cooperative laws anywhere in the world allows you to bank your money yourself as a cooperative. So that's what we are. We designed a new model which we call demand-driven fund, not supply-driven fund. A supply-driven fund is a model where a MacArthur Foundation, ADB, AFDB come together and put a fund together and appoint a technical partner and say, okay, go and look for people who will collect the money. That's supply-driven. They designed the fund in Egypt or in Cote d'Ivoire or whatever. They do not understand the real problem of the small businesses in Gabon. They don't understand it. So what happens, therefore, is 95% of people who apply for the fund will never qualify. So we said, so you know what? Let us design a demand-driven fund. Now, this is the difference. A demand-driven fund is where the fund seekers are the ones who create the fund, design the model of the fund, and begin to invest in the fund themselves. And then invite investors who are interested to invest based on the criteria that we set up. So we designed the first demand-driven fund around farmers in Nigeria, set the parameters. In Nigeria, the bankers are giving money at 37, 38% interest a year. We are giving 40. For those of you who are complaining about 18% here, it is cheap here. In Nigeria, it is 40%, 20, 37, 38.
If we have 80,
that is, if you also have the assets, the property to secure the money, the money is not free, and so on. But in our cooperative, we are giving our members money at 12% a year. It's our money, so we don't need to change ourselves on the rate. It's our money. But we make money more than interest. Yeah. Because we control the ecosystem end to end. We make money from interest. We make money from the savings and transactions on our platform. We make money from transportation. We make money from selling fertilizer to them. We make money from the truck that we carry the goods from the farm down. We make money in several ways to the value chain. When we give you the money, you must sign an offtake agreement with us that you can only sell to us at the market value. So we have guaranteed offtake agreement so that whatever you are producing, we are the buyers. So we are arbitraging because we buy it from you at the farm gate, have a structured transportation that is cheaper than the open market transportation. We then meet a Unilever, we then meet a Cadbury, we then say, do you need soya beans? Do you need rice? Do you need maize? So we make money from the margin between what we bought the goods from our members at the gate, farm gate, and what we sell it to the factory. That's why our company is called Mice Trade. That mice you see there is mechanized agricultural investment excuse me, and services. So we are an ecosystem of businesses, therefore. We are not just offering financial services. That is why we are a multi-purpose business within that group. And guess what? Within that ecosystem, therefore, we offer our members insurance, health insurance, life insurance, pension services. What we try to do is simple. Even when we give you the money as loan, most times, 85% of your expenditure with the loan is still evolving within the ecosystem. So our money are not leaving us. As much as possible, the money is only moving from one of our members to the other within that ecosystem. So we operate like the Jews. We keep our money in-house. And you know, that is why money is called currency. You know why? It's always flowing like water. So what you need, therefore, is build the gateways that will ensure that anywhere the money is flowing into, is flowing into your house. It's either flowing into the house of this member or this member or that member or that member. We then have an ecosystem. So when we met her, was at the point where we needed to digitize the process because it was manual, it was getting too cumbersome and getting too... We've actually set up a company. In fact, I gave someone my other card here, which has O Mobile. That is our software company. We have commissioned a project team to build the software because I couldn't find it in the market. I've looked, I couldn't find a software that met what we needed. So we commissioned a team. They were going to start work on phase 1 when we met her. And we find that she has built phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And I say, oh, hey, stop. I don't want to waste money to reinvent the wheel. Madam Akila, let's work with you. And I stopped that project and we migrated our entire cooperative onto her platform. Today, we are the biggest customer that she has. And I said to her that, I said, Madam, no, let's renegotiate the pricing. We must get this thing cheaper. I'm saving money, all right? Instead of me going to, and even if I was to build that software, it will take me 2 to 3 years of serious work. So why would I reinvent the wheel? I just simply know what, you're my natural partner. And the moment we joined, other cooperative members say, have you found a solution? I said, yes. So I said, no, let's sign that contract. I will be your reseller. Anytime I sell your solution to any cooperative, you give me a commission. What is happening? The money is still staying within the ecosystem. That is what we call designing a model that suits you. The moment we demonstrated that this system can work, that was my shocker. The first offer of funding we got from a Canadian company is $5 billion. Not million, $5 billion. Because there was a system in place, and they said, you mean you have 250,000 SMEs on the platform? I said, don't ask me. This is the data. You don't need to confirm what you can see. Meanwhile, they were calculating what they will make, not what I will make, because they see the business bigger than I do. They needed products from Africa, which they could not find anybody big enough to supply. And they say, you know what, Ben, I need you to farm this, and farm this for me. I will give you the money up front. I'm not saying I will pay when you supply. I will give you the money now, provided you convince me that if I give you the money, you can supply this product. And the contract they're signing with us is not to supply for 1 month. It's a contract to supply that product for the next 10 years. And they are paying us over 40% of the money up front, which means we now have a commodity trading platform where we are taking the money of the buyer to give to the farmer to go to farm. We harvest it from the farmer and give to that is a system. And I don't even need to do it in Nigeria alone, because the things they wanted, I can't farm all in Nigeria. That is why I said, I need to go out of Africa. At that point, I then met my sister. Because we need to expand our ecosystem across Africa. And our target is that by the year 2030, we want to have 5 million farmers in Africa. Are you interested? I'm here for business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Once we do sessions like this, it's so you hear the story from the horse's mouth. Forget the fact that he's quoting this figure. He's a workaholic. And let me use this opportunity in Gambia to say thank you. We met for a different reason, and a different reason came up like today.
Correct.
And I had one of my mentee who was doing one of the most difficult tasks at that moment. He was building a robot from scratch with all the scrap in Nigeria with 10,000 children from various schools. And it was one of the first of its kind in Africa. At that point, funding became difficult. This became difficult. CNN was coming in, Al Jazeera was coming into Nigeria to see that this is real. And so every school was coming and we were talking. And this man seated here promised that the day we finished that project, the All Mobile will provide 10,000 tablets for free to the students that participated in it. And we did that March this year, right?
Yes, we did that actually.
And we got the 10,000 tablet for each of those students that participated. Thank you once again. So he is someone, when we talk about demand-driven, he is personified. We keep wanting Walmart alone. We've been dealing with Walmart for over 2 years just to sign an agreement to supply just peanuts or granules for our women, a cluster of women. And we're still on it. But once you have an off-taker ready with his funds, you are on a wild dream chase because it's an open market. Some of those products, there is a granite community here. Some have been there. So we can look into that. But what we are saying is we have to profile solutions. All the problem in Africa is only we that can solve our problem. Any person coming in to solve the problem for us has his own agenda. On that note, ma'am, yes, coming from the government background and into the private sector, but still focusing on entrepreneurship drive and repositioning it in Africa, what are some of the solutions that we want you to profile from your experience, ma'am?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Zainab. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. My name is Fatou Mbengue Jallo. I work with the International Trade Center as a senior advisor for the She Trades program in West Africa. So I cover Nigeria, Ghana, and the Gambia. She Trades, for those of you who don't know, is a flagship program that ITC has since 2015. And the main focus is really empowering women through trade. So through that program, we work from policy, capacity building, mentorship, access to finance. But at the end of the day, the main objective is really women being able to trade. And of course, for every country, the focus is not only your domestic market, but exports as well. So that's what we do. And since then, what we have done as a program is to factoring the need for sustainability of initiatives that we undertake in different countries, because it's always important. I'm coming from a development partner perspective. ITC is a development institution, and it's a joint UN-WTO agency that focuses on enterprise development. So with the She Trades program, we have worked in a number of countries, but currently what we've done is to ensure again about sustainability and local ownership as well. We work with institutions within the different countries to establish what we call She Trades hubs. So in Gambia you have a She Trades Gambia, in Nigeria you have She Trades Nigeria hub, Ghana, different countries. So across the world we have 22 hubs, including 2 regional ones that are in MENA. One is based in the UAE and the other one is in the Caribbean that covers the Caribbean and Latin America. So really the main focus, as you've said, is about empowerment of women, but also ensuring that we're coming in to partner, to collaborate with the country itself, both public and private sector, ensuring whatever the gains are, they're locally owned, linked to the development agenda of that country, but they also sustainability as well, because most of these initiatives are funded by projects. Projects come to an end, and it's important that beyond a project life, interventions are sustainable. Now, that was just an introduction in terms of what She Trades does. I mean, I've heard all the deliberations, and particularly on the access to finance, and through the access to finance panel as well, I think a lot of things have come out in terms of trade facilitation as well. Because from my perspective and the work that we do, in terms of entrepreneurship development leading to economic growth, it's important that we look at the whole, the whole space of it. We spoke about policy. You had highlighted the element related to the policy environment. We spoke about the ecosystem as well. Because things don't happen in isolation. And if we're really working in terms of empowerment, whether it's women, today that's the focus, but really in terms of general empowerment, we need to look at all the blocks. There's a policy element, there's of course, as you said, the ecosystem. What is within the ecosystem? Do we have the business support organizations that are there? Because not every institution can reach every MSME that is out there or a potential one. So within the ecosystem, you need to have business support organizations that are well equipped, well resourced to be able to reach the needs. And when we talk about the needs as well, it's really not just being a business support organization. Let me say, example, a chamber of commerce that I have so many members. How much can you support in terms of those members to ensure that they're able to really not only establish but grow as a business as well? And that is why it's really important in terms of business support organizations to be supported, to ensure that they really have the capacity to support their membership, but the same in terms of when we talk about others, like somebody was talking about when we talk about digitalization. You cannot move now without that. And related to that, we are talking about e-commerce as well. Do we have the systems in place? It's not only having the solutions, but do we have the systems in place? And there we're talking about payment systems. Do we have those in place to ensure that we are able to facilitate trade? That's also another element. I don't want to go into elements of infrastructure, but that is important in terms of energy, not only for Gambia, but I think that's across Africa. We need to look at that element. There's transportation and all of these bits. But for me, what's fundamentally really important and in the work we do is that there is hope, there is optimism, because people are not waiting, as you've said. It's not charity. People, despite all these challenges, are excelling. They're doing well, they're growing, they're establishing their businesses. They are falling, but they're getting up as well. And there are a lot of success stories on that. So we need to really leverage on that. But at the same time, it's important, whether we're in the public sector or private sector, I always talk about that, is accountability in terms of whether we're public or private sector, to ensure, as you said, it's from A to Z. Who is responsible for what at every stage of that? And we're also accountable, so that at the end of the day, you're coming to FATU, I would have done my bit for you to be able to do your bit. So if I don't do mine, you're not able to move. So these are elements that one needs to look at. We've spoken about access to finance. Again, it's people's money. The banks don't own this. There's funds, as we've said. So we need to look at what are the solutions. And we have tested. We know the credit guarantee schemes, they do work. So what can we do as Gambia? I want to believe in Nigeria you have credit guarantee schemes. I want to believe. I cannot really confirm that. But we believe that credit guarantee schemes have been tested, and these are things that can work. So we need to look at it really, again, I'm talking not from the perspective of only Gambia, because I think the reason why we're having this is an international conference. We're looking at not only Gambia, but we're looking at ECOWAS and Africa in general. So what does it do? We know we're at different levels of development, but we need to look at also for some of the countries, what do we need in Gambia that really needs to work, but learning from Nigeria and learning from Ghana as well, like the systems that you have spoken about here. And let me just focus more on Gambia, because I know more here, even though I have experience in other places. It's for access to finance, as I've said, the credit guarantee schemes do work. We've tested it as ITC, so I think that is something that we need to look at. I'm happy that the MSME fund, or Enterprise Development Fund, is finally in. There's seed funding, so that needs to be activated. But I do hope that one can also look at through that MSME fund in terms of a window for women. A window for women. I think connecting that with what we have, the Women Enterprise Fund, would really help, and also what SDF is looking at. Again, on access to finance, we have also tested that it's not only the interest rates, it's also about the repayments in terms of the time frames. So one has to look at also in terms of what businesses these people are in. Somebody who's in poultry or in agri, it's not every month that they are able to pay. But can you link their payment periods to the time of their harvest or when they sell and so on? We've also tested this with SDF. It works, and it's something that one can also, one can also build in. And this is not only unique to Gambia. I think when we're talking about access to finance, let it not blindly be during this period, but tie it to the business that person is doing so that they're also able to, use that to be able to repay. I believe one element, I've touched a bit on the digitalization and the e-commerce for Gambia is about the payment system, because we go all over talking about access to markets. The market is not the problem. The problem is being able to access it, being able to meet the requirements. Certification always comes to mind. Being able to meet also in terms of the demand, the numbers. So for me, I always say, yes, it's great to go to trade fairs and some missions, but if the entrepreneurs you're taking do not have the certification requirements, their demand, their capacity cannot meet it, why go? It's good to go so that they expose, they learn, they see what others are doing. But I believe we need to do more in terms of looking at what are the market requirements that we are targeting, whether within Africa or outside. A lot of women that I've worked with, the challenge, as I say again, is not about somebody wanting to buy your products. One is your product being able to meet the standards, certification. If it's fashion, in terms of your finishing, your packaging, and all of that. And of course, access to finance. But we believe that if you have all of this in place, being able to get the funding and you have the right business model, you should be able to work. So for me, I believe one area that we really need to work on is in terms of the market entry requirements, certification, but also looking at capacity. Are we able to encourage? We know in Gambia, and I know it's not only in Gambia, bringing people together to work together is a challenge. But it shouldn't stop us. Where we're able to bring 2, 3 people, I have this order or this potential, can we work together to be able to scale? That really, for me and for us, has been one of really our experiences in terms of all the work we do in connecting women to markets. It's about certification, the quality requirements, being consistent in terms of the quality of what you send. This time you send it is perfect, the next order is something else. You have to go back to the drawing board. So this year, standardization, it's really important in terms of when we are really talking about women empowerment through trade. But I believe also at the end of the day, with all of this, what one expects is that, as we always say, when you empower women, there's not only the economic benefit in terms of jobs, but we're also looking at healthcare, education, because once they have access to everything and they're empowered, they're able to contribute a lot when it comes to the healthcare of the family, but also in terms of education of the population. And this also, of course, have the social benefits as well. So for me, what I would say is important that we have these discussions, but we know many of these challenges are also, we all experience it, maybe at different levels. So it's important that we learn, but we're also able to, as you said, come up with solutions that we actually implement. And I think here also to Usainu, we know there is is it iPowers, the investment promotion agencies of West Africa? From everything that we're saying, what can be done at that level? Because iPowers also has a certain platform that they sit on at the regional, at the ECOWAS, sub-regional, but also regional and internationally as well, so that we see how are we able to leverage on some of the I would say platforms or opportunities that the AFCFTA provides that even if we start at the level of ECOWAS, and then we're able to move on. So for me, these are just things that we're not throwing out there, but we are reiterating. Just recently, there was an assessment done over, I think, about almost 100 entrepreneurs, and what came out top was access to finance, then the element of market access. But the access to finance, again, as I've said, there are different elements. But one thing I also always encourage in terms of entrepreneurs is that there have been different schemes. You have had, in this country, we have had grants through projects. We have had loans, matching grants. But at the end of the day, these are not things that can be sustainable over time. I think businesses need to know that at a certain level, you need grants. At a certain level, you have matching grants where, you know, the projects or government or whoever gives you these funds and you bring up the other bit. And then you can also access mini loans. But businesses need to understand that they cannot survive forever and grow based on grants. You have to be at a level where we know there are gaps, you need to be supported. We still need to support you, whether as development partners or chambers or GAIPA and the government. But when you reach a certain level, you also have to be ready to go to the next step, to grow. And to grow, you must take some risk. If somebody's offering you 10% and you did your calculations, even with that 10%, you are able to make another 5%, go for it. But some businesses, again, in my experiences dealing with so many, they would still not want to take that. They're looking for grants. So this is something I'm always being, told that, Fatu is too hard on these businesses, but it's not the case. You have to grow, then we can help others that are not doing as well as you for them to be able to grow as well. So these are just some things I wanted to share. As ITC, we have an office in Gambia here, but I mean, we're here to support, to collaborate, and to partner. So I look forward to having further discussions with you so that we're also able to engage and connect at the level of the SheTrade's Nigeria Hub, which is hosted by the Nigeria Export Promotion Council. So that is what I just wanted to share for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think what I'm picking from you right now is when we talk about access to finance, you made a reference to a very, very interesting angle, repayment schedule. Because when we give out loans or grants to people, we make it a uniform thing when to recover the money without thinking. If she's a poultry farmer, there is a gestation period for the chickens to at least 6 weeks before egg laying, before that. So I think it's something that we need to expand in looking at it, especially for business support organizations that are liaison officers between us and the financial platform. So we look at e-commerce, mentorship, network collaboration, capacity building, empowering our African women entrepreneurs, but most of all is looking at reviewing and developing policies every day that is renewable in terms of the issues around border trades, around women entrepreneurs, around the ecosystem. If we don't review those things regularly, we'll keep talking about the same issue every 5-6 years. So on this note, I'm glad GAIPA is here. GAIPA, who is our host, is an agency that also look at reviewing policies. So we need to start looking at policies for sustainable development around the ecosystem in terms of women entrepreneurs, and our younger ones too, the youth, they are not left out. So I hope our rapporteurs are capturing those recommendations. But before Babuka comes to round up the session, we need to have observation, your input, your questions for the 3 panelists before we go. Do you want to say something?
I don't need the mic, I just
sectors, you know, what you said about the technical know-how necessary when designing these platforms to say, well, for this particular sector, I have one. Okay. I am to hold it. Oh, okay, just to say, let us not dilute the need to have the necessary technical know-hows in designing platforms, as mentioned by Auntie Fatou or yourself, the financial platforms or the considerations that go into them. Because, I mean, as you've said, when you are catering for the poultry farmer or the groundnut harvester or something, you really need to understand the way of their operations in order to be able to design the platforms that are most relevant to them. So it is important that we don't weigh down the need for the, you know, the actual technical know-hows and the expertise necessary that are relevant that go into, you know, the collaborative efforts to design these things. That means in doing so, the government, of course, needs to engage the people on the ground. They need to know exactly what is expected of them and what the workers want and need before they proceed to establish, you know, any type of policy and so on. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
All right, good afternoon once again. I just wanted to share, as the lady from Aquila was talking, from Abidjan, right? From Nigeria, okay, Nigeria. So I just wanted to share that people that are in the building here, and then you're partnering with businesses that are in other parts of Africa, and then payments becoming a challenge for you. You can actually utilize the Yona wallet. The Yona wallet is able to transfer to a lot of African countries, including Cameroon. We send to Ghana, Guinea, Kenya, Mali, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Togo. And currently we are on an integration process with Juba Express in Abidjan. So if you have business partners and then you want to buy your products and you want to make payments to these partners, the Yona wallet is here to make these things seamless. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you very much. I think I just want to make a comment. I remember when we had the Roots Festival in Janjanbureh, we had His Excellency the President with us, and he was going round. And his observation was, why can't we put all these people together? Because today, if I want to order this quantity, none of them can supply. And this is exactly the challenge we are facing. If you look at today, we try Sainsbury, have people that try Sainsbury, Tesco's and everything, but they have a linkage. But the truth is, fine, the standard is one thing, but the most important thing is reliability of supply and the volume. And because those people are not going to order small quantities because it doesn't meet the economy of scale, it doesn't make their business viable. So I think with Fatu's support as well as ITC, I think we need to look at how do we put these businesses together. That will enable them get access to foreign markets. Yes, we go to Turkey, we go to countries, they want to buy cash. But when they tell you the volume that they want, no individual supplier in the Gambia can supply that. So, and I think when it comes to the e-marketing platform, and this is also where both GAIPA, Ministry of Trade, and the chambers need to sit in a round table and decide what to do with it, because it's fragmented. We have Gamlumo, the chamber have something, I think Ministry of Trade come with another thing. Everybody is coming with the platforms. But then what you realize is, okay, I know UNA can support, WAVE can support, but the truth is, they also need volume. And the volume is not there. So looking at the size of the country, if we have one platform, which we all support and promote, upload all the MSMEs, all the business in the country, that platform become viable to maintain itself, then this access to market issue will disappear. But the truth is, access to market, the best way is the internet. Today is the best way of buying things. But the truth is, we've engaged all the card providers in terms of the wallet providers. But the truth is, it's so fragmented that we are now partnering with, I think, Giraffe to try to help businesses to upload. But then you look at the multiplicity of everything, then it doesn't become viable. I think this is something that both GAIPA, the ministry, and the chambers need to come together and support one platform. Because at the end of the day, the objective is to help the MSMEs. Thank you.
Earlier, and Usainu also talked about it. I think it's the partnerships that we need to build. We have to look at the potentials of certain companies and those that are in the what do I call it? Okay, within the same environment, like I've lost it. No. No.
Within the same region, like geographical mapping.
We have to look at, yeah, let's say when I was in the Ministry of Trade, what we did was to have a study. We even went up to Thailand to look at the one product, one village, one product concept. Because you have to have the ability to produce rather than, and the advantage. And that works a lot. Everybody within this region, for example, we had it in Gambia, but I think it has failed. You look at Ngayen, was it Ngayen, they call it somewhere in CRR, they were very good with peppers. You try to coordinate them, form them into cooperatives, and they produce. Because otherwise the people will go there, source it, and it becomes more expensive. And this is what brought this thing that we're talking about, the onions in North Bank, because they were good at producing onions. But two other things that are the problem also, people don't follow the value chain. As you produce, once you're producing, you don't talk about how it gets to the market, and that is a problem. The other point is the quality. If we want outside market, I think we've been talking about that, but I think it's about time that we take that up. Look at the quality infrastructure. It's not there, and the people outside will not get a standard quality. If there's no standardization in quality, you can sell by suitcases, or you cannot sell the volumes that were needed. I mean, these were the reasons why we lost AGOA. Most of the countries in West Africa or in Africa had access to AGOA, but for Gambia, we only had suitcases, no what would I call it, no containers, nothing. Because the two fundamental problems, people don't believe in partnerships in this country, and two, the quality infrastructure is not there. So how can you trade in volumes if this does not happen? So for me, I think it's on all of us, but I think one of the institutions should really champion this thing that so that people would have access. Champion, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we should sit over it and look at what we can do to bring people together so that they produce in volumes. But look at, for example, what is happening in the agricultural value addition. Everybody does chura gerte, everybody does Rui, everybody does Arau, everybody does, I mean, even one of the most hot markets that we have, and Gambia is producing, for example, moringa. But everybody produces 1 kilo of moringa and you want to sell that. Somebody else produces, I mean, when are we going to get there? There's a lot of moringa here. And I think the ladies are very good at producing it. What is happening for them to come together so that they can, I mean, you go to, for example, England, they wouldn't ask for, maybe they would ask you for 2 containers a month. Who can produce that here? 2 40-foot containers. And that is a lot of money. So I think on our side as business development organizations and GAIPA as well, trying to promote investments and other things, we should really sit down and look at how can we improve on this situation to make sure that some of the things that we have, that we readily have, could be exported and bring yields and benefits to this country.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you are in the Women's Chamber of Commerce, and we have our big brother here, the Gambia Chamber of Commerce, and we have GAIPA. Let me make this breakdown analysis. Thank you for that statement. The problem we had before now, and we are solving it in Gambia now, is the partnership thing. But this is how we are going to approach this. Example of the moringa. Let's create a value chain. Let's do this in practical terms. The women who will pick the leaves, let's choose 20 women. The women who will clean the leaf, let's choose 20 women. The women who will dry the leaves, let's choose another 20. I'm making 60 now. Okay? The women who will process that leaf into powder form, let's take another 20. Let's take another 20 women who will now start packaging that powder in a container. Then let's have another 20 women. I'm making 120 something women now who will just be putting the stickers. Let's have another 20 women who will start boxing them for export. Now, only one product we've created, 140 to 160. But this is just the small basic. This is doable from the chambers, with GAIPA as the policy makers. They are the government arm. So if we put this 160 women, your role as 20A is just to collect the leaves from all the trees and bringing it to this point. You 20B is to clean it according to specification, because sometimes our women clean, by the time it gets to the end product, it's lost everything, and the way it's dried. Just moringa now, because of the volume you are talking, the partnership we are talking, but you can set this up. GAIPA is going to be like an overseeing because they are the government angle that will take this and take that. But you can create 140 to 200 on just moringa, and you have your job creation, wealth creation, a number of the quantity to supply to any tea maker in the world. Let's try it. And look at your avocado wasting. I was passing a compound and they were all hanging, and I didn't have a choice than to knock. I'm like, you can do avocado oil. You can do avocado salad cream. You can do all this healthy eating from avocado. What is going on? Wasting. In that compound alone, I think me and Esther, I had to beg them to give me avocado. I ate avocado chicken. I ate avocado. I made even avocado oil for my skin, for my hair. So what are we saying is the mindset thing. Let's change it now. Even if you are not into business, there are things coming out of this conversation that you start thinking. I say to my women, think big, start small. Every corner in your house that you are not using is your industry. All right, go ahead.
Let me share this with you. So contrast the reason why we need to think value chain.
Yes.
The
because we have built the value chain, take for example rice. It does not start from when you plant the rice. No, it starts from the seed of the rice, the preparation of the land for the rice, how you do the seed, how you harvest the rice, and so on. We thought before that the biggest money maker in rice value chain is the rice you eat. We are wrong. That's not the biggest money maker in the rice business. The biggest money maker in the rice business is rice oil.
Yeah. Yes.
Rice oil is the most expensive oil in Asia. It comes from the byproduct after you have taken the rice you eat from what is called rice bran. It is what we throw away when you produce rice. That is what you now take and now mill into rice oil. That is free money that we have been wasting. Guess what? The shaft that you waste in rice, an Indian company came from India. It's called husk. They now use the rice husk to now do power through biomass. Another free money that we were throwing away before. Guess what now? Just before I left Nigeria, a US company called CDC came all the way from Philadelphia with an environmental substance for cleaning all the machineries we use when we produce so that there is no disinfection. They have now signed an exclusivity contract with us to come from Chicago and set up a factory in Nigeria producing the substance for us, just to make sure that all our machines, all our utensils are clean enough without any disinfectant before the produce come out. Businesses are coming to us now because we have created an ecosystem. Even the business we never saw before is emerging now. So what I'm saying therefore is, we can't remain defragmented in Africa. We are not going anywhere. And for us, therefore, we have created a development bank that we own. And every member of our cooperative is a shareholder in the bank. So any new business that comes out within an ecosystem, we can finance it without going to the banks. Because we have created our own private bank, owned by us, financing us, and easy to repay because we control the lifeblood, which is money. Because of that, it is easy. Now, guess who now came to us? We just finished the economic summit in Abuja. From January 1st next year, the tax man now came and said, what? So you have 252,000 businesses here. Are they paying tax? He's laughing now because that is because he said, no, they must all pay tax. We said, okay, we're willing to pay tax, but what are you doing for us?
Negotiation.
You can't come and collect tax with that you are not adding any value. So if you want us to pay tax, you must also give us value. So, okay, what do you want? I said, good. We want road here. We want this here. We want this here. If you want tax, do this. It's a negotiation. Yeah. So what we are saying, therefore, is, as businesses, get yourself organized into an ecosystem that is a collaborative ecosystem, not a competitive. There's nothing to compete for. There's nothing. And then specialize. The moment you find somebody who is doing something well, leave that business for him. Focus on another one. You don't replicate it. Not that one person, everybody is a tailor. This one's a tailor. This one's a tailor. This one's a tailor. The business will die because the volume cannot sustain the business. But once he can do a business well, leave it for him. Let him do it, and everybody give him your business. Look for another one that nobody is doing, and do what? And start that one. Now, this is the latest good news. Guess what? PABS came to us now. PABS is now connecting to us directly, bypassing the banks. Yeah. Because they could see volume in our ecosystem. They say, oh, can we
Now, you know the funniest thing, what made me interested, when we had meeting with them, the question they asked us was, what do we do for you to move from 250,000 to 1 million? That was the question they were asking us, yes. We want to grow you to 1 million members. Not to, what do we put on the table? So you can see, therefore, they have seen a path for scaling.
Yes.
Because volume is the business. You mentioned AGOA. When AGOA started, we met an American company. They're called United Grocers. That's their name. When we got to them in America, they said, my friend, we are willing to ship 1 shipload of produce from America to you every month. But on one condition, that ship cannot come back to America empty.
Yeah.
So as is offloading in Lagos, you must be loading something that is coming to America. The contract died that day because I didn't know where to get the produce from. The contract died that day. That was when I said, oh, I need to build an ecosystem that can produce at a volume so that the trade becomes interesting for both partners. That is how we started, and today we are now at a negotiating point now because we can scale. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Let me add something.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I want to add is, out of this, what makes the information to be visible is the technology. We don't want, whatever they have been doing is because they are visible into a technology platform. Today, if somebody asks them question, how many members are you? We just take the phone, we click, there are 250. You don't have to go, and so we need to look at how we do everything we are currently doing into a technology. Because for you to be fundable, you need to provide traceability. You need to provide accountability. You need to provide sustainability, and is on the technology that today, on the one click, you can give the information to the investor, they see what you are doing, and they can come. But when they ask you a question, what have you been doing? Okay, let me call this woman in this village. Okay, those one, I think they are 20. And this one, I think last time we spoke, they were 30. No. Come to a platform, digitalize your activities. Digitalization is what we have to do. There's no option. We are literate, we are not literated, there is no option. We need to digitalize every single activity we are doing, and that is the way to go. There's AI, there's training. Don't do anything without having a smartphone. If you want training, take your grandchildren, they were born with technology, they can train you. Yeah. But don't just tell yourself that this is too complicated. You will not go anywhere. We need to follow the movement, and the movement is technology. So please, we want to make sure that the next time we come here, everybody is into one platform. We know how many entrepreneurs, how many farmers, how many market women. We need to have everybody in one platform. And Madam CEO is here. I'm sure whatever she does is based on data. Data is the new gold in the world. Right. If you have data, you have everything. So please don't forget to include technology on all your processes, on all your program, because you go far. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again. It has been absolutely a long day, and we started very late. But both of us and all of us, right from the actors, the panelists, to the participants, we did realize that it was worthwhile. And in that, the reason for that is being, we have heard from the wealth of experience from the panelists, both in the morning session and in the afternoon session, as well as the emerging issues that are coming up. Like the previous speaker said, these are nothing new. Like you always said, in dialogues and cooperation agreements, there's something that has not been signed. This is about implementation. Also, this is about focus and getting to strategy to implement what we have discussed. In view of that, of course, we will have loved to have the rapporteur come and give us a brief for the day. But considering the time factor that is too late, it's almost 5 o'clock, we want to close and adjourn till tomorrow. And when we come back tomorrow, of course, we want to start around 10 o'clock. And once we start, then we'll close before 2 o'clock, because tomorrow we are just going to have 2 sessions. And one should be on policy dialogue and on digital trade, enhancing trade facilitation, use of digital trade and fintech. And the other one will be about the export market opportunities for women-led SMEs. And both panelists in these sessions are highly agitated to be part of the panel tomorrow. And we wish to give them that privilege to also have that platform to interact with you, the participants. And like we said, some of these forums, the essence is not about formality. The essence is to ensure that we have a cross-section of ideas that have been discussed and fertilized for the policy makers, those that are above us, to consider. At our role in GAIPA, advocacy is part of our role and mandate, and platforms such as this one also serve as that integral part of what we do to advocate for policy reform. So on this light, we wish to thank everybody for your patience over the period and during the day, and hope to see you tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you. Those of you that did not have gifts, there are already gifts outside for you to collect. And the guy from, you have to pay our bill.